I guess I
Heghmoh's
do.
out here making progress, making an Aegis, farming skulls, and you're
Hmm.
just like
I'm
up
just all over
left
the
and right.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, I did finish all of my Limbus this week.
You did all your Limbus. Nice.
Yeah, I did all of
Yeah,
my
me too.
Limbus. I did 2 Dynamis runs. And that was it. That's all I did for the week.
I've
Nice.
got a confession.
What's up?
Between being sick and going to the city and not caring, I haven't done any Limbus.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
shit.
That's embarrassing, Dex.
I should be ashamed, honestly.
How do
What are you
you
gonna do? Are you gonna finish by tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish by tomorrow. What is
Oh,
this? Come
okay.
on.
You're gonna do 10 runs
He's
in the
like-
next 24 hours.
Of course he is.
Damn.
You know who you're talking to, Heghmoh? That's a big Dexy P. He's got that Limbus drive for sure.
If ain't nobody gonna come with me, I'm gonna just do it myself.
That's a really good point.
I've done 10 runs in 24 hours one time, and I felt like I was gonna die.
Yeah, there's a certain misery to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like getting your legs broken in a bed.
It
I don't know what
kind
you
of
guys are
reminds
talking
me
about.
of like, you know, like those industrial like crushing machines that like
Mhm.
have two like rotating like kind of corkscrew things, and they like you can throw a whole couch in there and it just shreds it and tears it into tiny
One that
pieces.
shreds metal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like getting sucked into one of those.
It's gonna be our intro to this podcast.
Yeah.
Is, describing Limbus. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't think it's that bad, but maybe it's
It's
because I
not
only
bad.
do like 1 or 2 runs at a time.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Uh,
Doing one run of Limbus isn't bad. Doing
mhm.
10 in a row is soul crushing.
I don't want to say this to be mean, but
Mhm.
it's much worse for a solo player.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
no, for sure, for
absolutely.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
no
sucks for
question.
you, and I don't know why you made bad life choices. But yeah.
Suck, Dex. Why don't you just shut
Yeah,
up, idiot?
yeah. No, it's terrible. Yeah, if I was a solo player doing it all the time, I probably wouldn't do it. Just being honest. Like, I might join some shouts every here and there, but
I've got an important question.
yeah.
Previously on the Blurred podcast,
Mhm.
Mith said that the new meta is Paladin Dancer, spamming Caliburnus weapons. I would
Yeah.
like to know what the new meta is.
The new meta is actually Beastmaster blitzing with Pondering Peter healing. I don't
Holy
know
shit,
if
that's more potent than a Paladin healing?
yeah, I don't know if you guys know this about Pondering Peter, but he's a fucking monster. He's
What is he pondering about?
well, a lot of things. He ponders about
How to do
life.
Limbus more efficiently.
He ponders about why Heghmoh makes the life choices that he does.
I think no
He
one should
ponders
ask that.
why Dex hasn't done Limbus this week. All sorts of stuff.
He's like the
He's just a
thinker.
curious guy.
It sits
Yeah.
there.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
I think Beastmaster, but no, for realistically, the runs I've been doing have been Warrior, 2 Corsairs, Geo, Red Mage, and Bard.
Why
And
would you?
those go pretty
You
smoothly.
ruined everything. I was just
I
about.
heard.
I was just about to
uh,
like redact the fucking prime tier list, say the B
mm,
stack S tier, and we were gonna keep going.
Beesnax is extremely high tier, but
Mhm.
I heard the current rumor is that the new meta is 100% double attack, 100% crit rate.
Yeah,
Warrior,
baby.
white
You
damage
know,
warrior.
Rogues roll.
it's funny because I got a little bit of pushback from that last week when I was talking about it.
Oh, well,
Um,
we don't have to say from who.
let me clarify. I got pushback from one person. And
Yeah.
then it inspired me to like look into it more. And the more that I
Hmm.
look into it, the more I'm convinced that it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
You know it's good. It's good when me and Shiraj agree on something.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how
Well,
bad can it be?
I'm gonna get this out of the way early. I feel like I don't believe anything Shiraj says anymore because he gaslit me a little bit, and so now I don't know when he's lying or telling the truth.
That's a really good point.
He, you know, you're not wrong. I mean, he says things, and a lot of the time, I know for sure he's doing
Mhm.
it to just
Yeah.
get a rise. So I don't know
Oh
anymore.
yeah, for sure. You guys just don't know him like I do. It's fine. He and I
Like
have a
that.
special relationship.
We touch tips in person. What do you have?
Shiraj and I both live to torment people. He's just a different generation of it. That's all.
Mhm.
AKA bad people.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, so
Ergo,
like the more I look at this set, for like specifically what I was looking at was like the 135 Limbus stuff. You can
Yeah.
cap critical hit rate without blood rage, and then like if you want to do really try hard stuff, you can like make a set specifically for when blood rage is up and like have all that double attack damage and do
Oh,
all sorts
yeah.
of fun stuff. I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm working
Hell
on it
yeah.
right now. Check back in 1 to 4 years, and we'll have better results for you.
When we have the full thing
Yeah,
augmented in,
yeah,
potentially 1 year.
yeah. When we have 3 pieces augmented in,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be a while. But what are you guys up to? What have you been up to this week, Heghmoh? How's the week of Heghmoh
Uh,
been?
just living the dream, you know? We've been working on a bunch of Final Fantasy 11 grinds. I finally gave up. I gave up a long time ago on doing Ammonon monk method. I
Mhm.
kind of like just stopped doing it. I was like, it got to be I wasn't making too much progress. I got it down to like 20% one time, but it was just too stressful and
Mhm.
I wasn't enjoying it, so I just stopped doing it like 2 months ago. And this week I finally started taking steps to do the like official meta method. So was working on an
Mhm.
Aegis, finished my TP bonus dagger,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff has
Proud
been
of you.
my primary task. And then meanwhile, I'm slowly closing in on 110 Bonecraft finally. We're up
Wow.
to 104, 104.3, I think, is the official count.
Mhm. That's crazy. You're getting close, buddy.
Yeah, almost there.
You're a
How's
real
your
grafter.
how's your
Both
shield
you,
going along? And
I was gonna say
why
both that
I gotta
shield.
say every time like I look at your stream and you're doing like
Uh-huh.
every single objective that the shield gives you, it is
Uh-huh.
it is really grinding my gears.
Well, so I have not really sat down just to
Right.
do shield progression.
Right.
Like I usually do a tiny. We're up to like 20% craftsmanship on the
Mhm.
shield, and basically what I do is I go do my crafting points.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and if it's a synth that's like reason, like, not like a 100 synth or a 90 synth or something that I can do with the shield, I just
Mhm.
brute force it wearing the shield. And then once I'm done with that, I'll just do like if I have spare materials or if I have easy access to other synths that like follow the bonus objectives and stuff like that, I'll just do like a few random things for 5 or 10 minutes just to push it a little bit farther because it's still in it when I approach it that way, it still feels like a fun mini game instead of like a mindless like grind.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
like exclusively doing that for long
Mhm.
periods of time. It's just like little bursts every day.
Mm. Yeah, I gotcha. That makes sense.
In it for the long
Um,
haul.
the cool part is like the first stage of the shield is super easy to max out craftsmanship, and then
Mhm.
I believe the second one is pretty easy too, and then it gets terrible. So I'm
Oh,
looking
okay, cool.
forward for you to start seeing like 0.01%
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
craftsmanship increases and stuff
I
like
can't
that.
wait.
Yeah, it's
That's
it's a
not
lot of
that bad. It's
fun.
only 1,000. That's not bad.
Mhm. Yeah, so last week I think I was at like 15,000 spirit for the last stage of the shield for woodworking. Now today I'm at 54,000.
Oh damn.
And you need like a little bit over 100,000. It says 100,000, but it like from what I've heard from other people is it kind of rounds up. Like a friend of mine had to do like 103,000. Um
Damn.
so we're about halfway there, and
Living on a prayer.
I every waking moment that I'm working on it, I get a little bit more defeated.
Yeah.
But you know
But that's not even the
we're
final part.
it is the final part. Well, the you got to forge or you got to craft the shield, but you're pretty much done after that.
Yeah.
But then you can break the shield when you go to craft it.
Yeah. Can you break the last stage? I don't. I think you can break like the first ones. I'm not sure if you can break the last one.
Damn.
I'll have
So
to
you
look
can
at
like
that.
you get 100% craftsmanship, and then you
Mhm.
could possibly break it when you do
Yes.
the upgrade,
Yeah.
and you have to
Start over.
restart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is that like when I think about this kind of thing and like I see, like what I'm like actually experiencing what goes into it, because
Mhm.
it's always been something that I couldn't really fathom or fully understand because I hadn't done it before. And like it just didn't process to me. I knew that it was a lot of work, but I didn't really fully get it. Doing it now, I'm like my only reaction is like, how have so many people done this?
Right.
You know
That
what I
was
mean?
my
Like, I'm
reaction
like,
too.
yeah, how are there so many shields out here? Like,
That's
Yeah.
you
because
guys actually have done this? That's crazy.
Yeah. When I started playing the minigame for Spirit, I was like, there is no fucking way that this many people have actually done this process. This is insane. Yeah, it's terrible. But anyway, I'm excited to start my other one.
Yeah.
Now
here comes
that
the crafting video on Myth's
yeah,
channel.
yeah, soon, hopefully. As soon as I have time to, you know, write an outline and figure out what I want to
Mhm.
do and then record everything and then voice over it. And so soon, maybe like 6 to 8 months, something like that.
Yeah.
You got to
Reasonable
also teach
timeline.
everyone the most efficient ways to farm torques.
Oh god. No, Funk did that on BG Wiki. I'll let him take care of that part. I've actually not farmed any torques yet. The one torque that I have is from a rank 3 uh the Mogman's prize that I just got. So pretty stoked about that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I
I
was
um
real
I
excited to
was
not have to
gaslit
farm.
into farming a torque.
Oh,
I went out, so we started bone crafting, and somebody in Twitch chat was like, "Oh, have you gotten your torque yet?" And I was like, no, I haven't." They're like, "Oh, it's pretty chill. You just have to
it's
open boxes. You
yeah,
have to go open boxes like the old like treasure boxes in what's that zone called?
Yours is Ugalep,
Uh,
I think.
yeah, Ugalep. Yeah."
yeah. You got
And I was like,
baited,
"Oh,
man.
cool." And I was like, "I have Dynamis in like 45 minutes. Do you think we have enough time?" And they're like 3 or 4
Oh,
people
they
were like,
got
"Oh
you.
yeah, it's easy. It's easy. Go for it." And so I go out there and I've opened like 40 boxes. I'm like, "Are you guys sure this is easy?" And then finally somebody cracked and was like, "No, it's gonna take like 8 to 12 hours." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Thanks." But then I was committed. I had already started. So I had to
Yeah,
follow
Did you
through.
skip Dynamis?
I
No,
hope so.
I did go to Dynamis, but I went
Okay.
Oh,
back.
okay.
Then you're not
I went back.
truly committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe next time you can skip
Um,
Dyna.
I
You
saw
know,
in
you gotta.
Discord someone put a picture of opening a chest and getting 2 bone workers torques in the
Oh
same
Oh,
my
chest.
god, that's crazy.
that is crazy. You gotta farm your subcraft torques too. No, so
Yeah,
don't worry. You still
yeah.
have plenty to farm.
We've learned that is potentially extremely important.
You don't need to
Mhm.
do that.
Um,
Get a Kupo shield. Forget the whole
Oh, that's a really
escutcheon.
good point. Yeah, who needs the
oh,
escutcheon when you can get the Kubo shield?
get the
It's
rank
really easy
one.
to win rank 1 bonanza,
Yeah,
honestly. I do it
Yeah. Man, if I had known that before the numbers were announced, I would have won rank one. I didn't realize.
My dad worked for Square Enix.
yeah. I don't know what you were thinking, to be honest. Just making
Yeah.
silly choices. So we have a couple emails, guys. Do you
Oh,
wanna
Mm.
yeah.
do our first? I think we have two this week. We have one from
Both
Milo.
are returning guests from the email section.
Hey, we love to see it.
Nice.
We welcome anybody to send us emails, whether you've sent us 10 emails or 0 emails. Everybody's welcome to send us your emails. You don't have to send us serious emails. You can send us trolley emails. We appreciate that too,
Mm.
especially if they're aimed at someone named Dexprozius.
It's mean.
So this email comes from Milo from Cerberus. Says, I've recently learned about an ambuscade strategy of switching to Scholar and throwing up high potency, long lasting regen for the party, and switching back over to a different job before entering. Would it
Oh.
be similarly effective to grab a white mage's bar spells beforehand, or having someone hop on paladin to cast the enhanced protect or on an emboldened rune fencer? I think with Dubon that would end up being like 638 defense for 15 minutes on the rune. I've never really heard of this type of thing being done, but maybe I've been out of the loop. With sufficiently long-lasting duration, would it ever be worth getting extra core rolls this way, or for a bard to fully buff up the party then switch to a DD before entering? And is there any other content that, this type of strategy would be useful for? This is
So want to jump right in?
actually, yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of shocked that this isn't mainstream knowledge.
Mhm.
Um, at least in like the end game community, this is like
Yeah.
common practice.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, it's pretty crazy that like we're talking about like master trial strategies applied to ambuscade now. Like
I don't think this is
uh,
stuff.
but I mean like we used to do that a lot more with like Aeonics, for example. Like when the higher tier Aeonics, you'd get to Zerdy and you'd want to do it with as few people in the party. So like if you'd have people come out on Bard or Core, do do 4 rolls and like how 8 songs or whatever the maximum you could put up is, all the mega buffs, and then all the bards and cores would drop out, and
Yeah,
you just zerg like that. Yeah.
that's a great way to do things for Ionics. But
Yeah.
I need to clarify to Milo here. If you're doing any sort of instance content where you zone from one zone to another, you will not keep core rolls, bard buffs, anything to the right of your signet will get dropped.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so Limbus goes, or sorry, not Limbus. Ambuscade goes from Mahora into whatever that zone is called, Legion,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
Does that clear all your rolls and your songs?
correct.
Okay, so you will drop songs and rolls.
Yes. So when you said master trial,
Mhm.
all the master trials except Wings of War and
Yeah.
maybe another, they stay in the same zone. So
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
keep songs and rolls and all that shit.
Yeah.
But for things like segment farming, for things like sortie, I think it's very common practice in higher end groups to buff before going in.
Mhm.
Oftentimes you'll have a Corsair use naturalist roll to
Yep.
make the buffs
Yeah.
last longer. Um, having an outside or a pocket scholar come in and do a long regen is very common because it just
Hmm.
lasts for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Uh,
A max
sometimes
potency region 5 with Musa and everything is like 18 or 20.
plus the
Yep.
naturalist roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the red mage coming in and doing like 14-minute haste twos plus naturalist roll, it's very common.
Mhm.
To Milo's point, having the white mage come in for bar spells or having the paladin come in and give a pro 5 to an emboldened rune. I mean, that's not out of the question. It's just how many other characters do your team have and how seriously are you needing them? All these
Yeah.
Yeah.
buffs, they'll help a little bit, but there's diminishing returns, right?
Yeah, I think the other thing, like the one thing that stands out, and this is maybe like the like elitist edge in me that's like, why? Like why? Like if you're at the point where you have a scholar with a max duration, max potency region, you've got a paladin with Dubon and all this other stuff. Um, like you probably have classed out of the point where ambuscade requires a bunch of pre-buffing.
Yeah. I don't think this is a common thing to do for ambuscade because ambuscade on the whole is
I think
much
sortie is the most
like
common
yeah.
example of this. And
I think
yeah.
sortie in particular is much more common because you want to get typically your red mage is the one buffing your like pro shell all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um and that's a lot of casts. And if you were to do it in the zone, that's like minutes that you're wasting and you don't have the time to waste that.
Yeah. It's also a huge benefit for the party members that are going solo to have that regen lasting through the objectives if you're doing like a 9 boss, which is where you're
Oh,
going to
true,
see a
true,
lot
See
of
that
true.
if you
Yeah,
people.
split
yeah.
up. Yep.
Yeah, I the segment part used to be really really common where people would do exactly what Dex was saying, get the naturalist roll region and everything like that. Personally, at this point when like I see people that are like way over geared and doing that, I kind of make fun of them a little bit because it's just segments.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like if your group needs that like extra boost to get a full clear, you can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Ambuscade probably not as necessary, but if it helps your group out, then why not? Absolutely.
I think Myth made one of the best points in that when people split up, those buffs take a lot more
Yeah.
precedent.
Yeah, I
I know
think
for a fact. Go ahead.
like that's one thing that I forget about is like when a lot of groups will run in and they'll, two people will go to D, two people will go to C, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff where you're just knocking out multiple things at once. And yeah, you really need kind of as much because you can't have a healer in every little subgroup. So for sure.
Yeah,
In segments at least, the groups that I run with, it's very common to have a Corsair or both Corsairs, and if you have two, go off after the buffs are done and do their own camps by themselves. So
yeah,
having regen for that job is very helpful.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's perfectly valid. I would just make fun of you a little bit for it because
No, go ahead,
you
make fun of
can
me.
because you
I'm gonna have more damage done than you, bud.
I know, buddy. Yeah, no, it's absolutely a valid strategy. I would encourage people to play with it. Again, I think sortie is the most common and most like best place you can take advantage of that kind of stuff because it really has the biggest impact there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a bunch of places you can do it.
Just like a
I
lot of
mean,
things
yeah.
in this game, it's shocking to me that Milo wasn't more aware of this, but there's a lot of like nuance to little things in this game that kind of you have to get taught. You have to get someone
Yeah.
to like
Well, I
show
Yeah.
mean, I think that there's like so many aspects that are maybe like I've done exemplar points before where we were grinding exemplar points, and I literally like did a Volcrum Dunes White Mage power leveler where
Mhm.
like I was like, hey, we need somebody was like, hey, can I join? And I was like, party's full, but you know, yeah, let's
Yeah.
drop the White Mage out, have him heal from outside. You know, like it's the kind of stuff that you just pick up over time, and it seems maybe common sense, but when you know, like it's not there's no game system that teaches you to exploit it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you turn to Blurred Podcast for that sort of
Yeah,
information.
exactly.
The
Exactly.
underground wiki is what they've been calling us on
The
the street. I don't know who
the
started that,
premier
but yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure who said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard them a lot. The
It's
underground wiki,
it's been said before. Definitely
source of
not
truth for
just by
Final
me.
Fantasy 11 content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Milo, for the email.
keep on emailing, Milo. You're on our
Absolutely.
streak.
We
Forget one a week.
we have another email from Huovos. Do you
It's
want to
from
take this one,
Oh,
Huevos.
Dex?
I don't know if
huevos.
he's misspelling it because he
Well,
signed it twice here as Huevos, but
Yeah, he
he's
signed it
emailed before
twice.
as Huevos.
Yep, signed it twice
unless it's
as
an
Huevos,
imposter.
so I'm reading it as Huevos. Maybe it
I'm
is.
reading
Maybe
it.
it's a separate, different
I'm reading
person.
it.
Okay, it's all you, buddy.
Huevos says, "Hi guys, it's me. Discussion. Each person name something that could fit in as a lock style for a weapon type that you'd want to see. Examples in game include the maracas for club and that Lego
Mm.
land club for great axe. Isn't that Hego land?
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Legoland. Yeah. Hegoland.
Ooh. Um, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm really partial to the camera lock style that I don't have access to for the gun.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
looking
that's
for
right.
things like that, and I'm kind of shocked that there's no like keyblade. Like, I know people love that.
Mm.
Keyblade. That would be, I feel like too much of a like reference to another IP, but I guess it's Square Enix, so
Or
they
Enix
could.
owned, so I don't see
Yeah.
why they haven't done it.
Yeah.
I
Um,
feel like they've kept Final Fantasy 11 kind of away from that sort of stuff, though.
with the exception of the Dragon Quest slime hats, which are coming back, right?
And 14, the Spriggan suit.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the Spriggan suit is a little bit more ambiguous. Like it's not like a cloud sword popping up,
Yeah,
or something
I
like
exactly.
want
that.
a hand
The
to hand.
slime probably, yeah. Mhm.
I
It's
want a
not like
hand to
in
hand where it's barehanded and it's just a guy holding a big rock and he just box
Mm.
people with the rock.
Do you guys
it's not
remember
like Final Fantasy 15 where they've got the like cup noodle collab and like they went all out on that. Yeah.
do you guys remember sock and boppers?
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
You think we could get like some sock and bopper
it's more fun
lock
than a
style
pillow
for
fight, dude.
yeah, for a monk? Just-
Some big boxing gloves would be pretty sweet. That
yeah.
would be pretty cool.
I always think it's kind of
Honestly,
cheesy when games do stuff like that though. When they do like the
yeah.
big like
The novelty weapons.
You
right,
say that, but
yeah.
we get the foam Excalibur, the Excalibur.
Hmm. Excalibur, the inflatable one.
I want more stuff like that, more goofy
Mm.
stuff.
Yeah.
I would say I think that I used Hagelin for a really long time because I would love to have a giant two-handed hammer. If there was like a legit like mace or hammer that I could use over a great axe, I would 100% do it all the time.
I just thought of one. You know how clowns make balloon animals like dogs? They can make a balloon sword. Like it's like
Isn't
tied
that? I
off.
mean, that is kind of what Excalibur is, though.
It's not. It doesn't
Mm-hmm,
look like
mm-hmm.
a balloon.
Yeah,
I
it's like an
will.
inflatable.
I
It's
thought
like
it
an
looked like it
inflatable.
was a plushie.
Mm. It kind
That's
of
a,
has, to me, I always thought it had like the little creases, like the plastic when you have a inflatable, uh, like a blow up dinosaur or something, or like
What if
a blow up doll.
what if you get a club that's a big tennis racket or like an ice cream scoop with ice cream on it?
Didn't they have a whole line? Isn't there like a paintbrush and like there's like a whole line of novelty weapons that only came out one like very limited?
Yeah, they're on the rainbow mug pal. There's the pen with ink coming out of it
Yeah,
as a,
that's right.
that one's really nice.
I do
They
really
should
like
add
the Choc Chocs, the
Oh,
those
the
are
little
chalk
pretty cool.
chalks.
clubs. Yeah, I use those a lot. And when I had a Kraken Club, which I sold this week, I used them
You
all the time,
did
and it was yeah, I did,
You're
and
a
it was a lot
terrible
of
to
person.
feed
fun.
your Limbus or your crafting addiction or your Limbus
Yeah,
addiction.
my crafting addiction.
Damn.
It's all going in. So my goal now is to put the Kraken Club, because I bought my Kraken Club for 300 mil, so I profited
Mm.
600 mil, so I'm not
Oh,
super
you
upset about it.
coward. You
Um,
sold it for 979 mil?
yeah.
I bought my
So
Kraken Club for 999 million, so I
Yeah,
can't.
you
There's no
yeah.
wasted
profit to
20
be
mil,
made.
So
buddy.
now, so now I'm gonna pour all of that into my woodworking shield and use my woodworking shield to get a new Kraken Club. That's my goal.
No, I think you have a disconnect here with the crafting thing. Like
Oh, I see.
crafting shield, you put the money in and it's gone. It doesn't come back.
Yeah, it's a you'll well in like in 2 years you'll have made enough margin profit if you craft every day. So there you
All right. Well, any other silly,
go. We
goofy?
just broke Myth. He's like, what am I doing this for?
I
Wait, wait, you're
I had
telling
to
me
put
I
my
invest on
I
dog
did
and I'm never getting it back?
I did take my dog out of his kennel because he's getting loud. But no, I have a bunch of like Dyna stuff that's just sitting
Hmm.
there waiting to be
Oh yeah,
crafted into like necks
you've
and
got like all this
all
stuff.
sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so I'm gonna go hard on, making Limbus gear that's not gonna sell with all the mats that I've been hoarding, and then
Oh yeah.
Dyna gear. So we'll be good to
Yeah,
go.
that's
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
make it
looking
back.
forward to. In like 6 to 9 months when I'm done with my crafting shield, all of the Limbus gear will be like 10 mil for HQ2s or something like that. So like
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
All right. So next, what size do you all have for your UI and why? My good PC has something like 10% of the screen, while my potato laptop covers 50% of the screen.
mm.
I'm
People
at
always
really
make fun of me because because I play on a relatively high resolution and I'm streaming, so like it's in a
Mhm.
small window for most people. So my UI is like as small as it can possibly be. I'm a tiny UI guy.
I
Yeah,
don't like it too tiny because then I strain my eyes.
I don't even know how to answer that question. Like, to be honest with you, that question goes a little bit over my head because I'm like looking at my screen and
Mm,
I'm like maybe 15%. I don't know what that
yeah,
means. Like, how do
When
I
Myth
yeah.
gets
how do I
asked how
map
big
this
it is,
out?
like I don't know how to
Well,
answer that.
remember, I don't know if you played back in like PlayStation 2 days. Like I played on PlayStation 2 on a like 12-inch CRT TV. And so you'd open your equipment menu and it would literally be the whole screen. You know, like uh it would just cover your entire screen. And for me now it's like this tiny little block that's maybe 1/50th of my total
Yeah,
screen space.
I've seen some people stream with like the really big UIs, and I don't
Mhm.
think I could play with that. Like, I want
No, that's
I
too
want the
much.
majority of
Like
my screen to not be UI.
if you're at
Yeah.
50%, you're covering way too much action.
We
I
got to
think
get the
But
like
I mean, think
action.
about it, like back in the day, like you'd be doing fights and like your character's kind of in the background doing the animations and you just see the chat log of like the combat. And that's kind of how you have to play the game still sometimes if you really want
imagine
to know
full
what's going on.
screening your chat log and just like if you didn't have to
That's how
minimize
you play.
macros
Yeah.
and stuff, you just like have the chat log and it's all text. You're not even
Hmm.
like watching the character. It's just text. Yeah, that's
Damn.
too much.
That's kind of like, I feel like that was the 75 era. Like pre TOAU was like just watching the chat log, and that was
Maybe
how
if you
you played
played
the
on a
game.
potato, it was that big. I think a good balance is like between 15 and 25%. And I'm just like, I'm going that arbitrarily based on how far my chat log is from the center of the screen.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could probably be more scientific about this and like open up the like.
Well, you can take your whole
config.
screen space and then you measure what percentage
Oh,
vertical
let me
the
get a tape
area
measure.
of your
That's a
chat
good
log.
idea.
Figure out
Wait,
what the
yeah.
exact percentage of your screen is covered by.
I would just take a screenshot and show it to ChatGPT and ask
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Recently.
true. What
ChatGPT
percentage
calculates
of my
the
UI
distance
is?
ratio of my chat box versus my character screen?
Yeah. How fucked up does this screen look, ChatGPT? That's what I would say.
Well, you have to ask Grok to get how fucked up is it?
Oh, that's a good point.
It'll roast you. All right, on to the next one. What
Yeah.
jobs do you think will significantly gain from going /nin if Square Enix decided to release a shuriken that was all jobs?
Oh yeah, somebody said that the other day. It might have been Huevos in stream chat. They were like, "Do you think they'll ever do that?"
No, they won't. But I like
I
the
said
idea.
no. Yeah.
My problem with it is even Ninja doesn't like their shuriken outside of Daken. Like if you took
Yeah.
Daken away, they wouldn't use shuriken at all.
Well, that's the idea is like going if you could get Doc. Well, what level is Daken?
Good question. Ninja.
Let me see.
Doc.
Daken tier 1 level 25.
Oh yeah,
So
so
you could
yeah.
get up to 30% with sub ninja at level 55.
Wouldn't it be cool? Speaking of, because I'm pretty sure that Monk already to Myth's warrior kick right now. Monk with focus and impetus up and a few pieces of gear can hit 100% crit hit rate. And they get Hoxney Ampulla, which will give them 100% double attack rate. So you could hit 100% multi attack, 100% crit rate on Monk with kick attacks, hand to hand, and Dokken in that case.
Myth, it's time to quit Warrior.
Actually, if I ever do,
Ampulla is an ammo, so you couldn't use Ampulla and Dokken at the same
Monk
time.
also
Damn.
has harder hitting crits and white damage than Warrior already.
if I ever like change to a heavy DD, because my rule has always been like I basically want like one of each class, like one heavy DD, one ranged, one healer, one support, whatever. If I ever change my heavy DD, I'll probably go Dragoon, because Dragoon is the best heavy DD.
Dragoon is really cool. And Dragoon, I still stand by. I don't know how, like, it's one of those things where there's certain things in Final Fantasy 11 that, like, you think about how long the game's been out, and somehow 20 something years ago, when they added Dragoon into the game, they perfectly nailed the like impact and the like feeling of doing jumps. Like, it's the most satisfying job ability in the game. It just feels right. And for that reason alone, Dragon's amazing.
I'm convinced it's the camera change that gives you that feeling.
Probably. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, Dragoon is the best. And sometimes like if I need a palette cleanser, I'll put Myth on Beastmaster and I'll play Dragoon on another character and pretend I'm a Geo on Myth.
To go back to Huevos' question about Shuriken, I think the job that would actually benefit from it, probably like Thief, realistically.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that's
because like
actually what I was thinking. Yeah,
a lot of the jobs that would sub ninja regularly, your bard, your core, neither of those can really sit in a shuriken, right? Because they've got an instrument, they've got a ranged weapon for all that other stuff that they're usually using. So there'd be a lot of swaps if they were swapping into a shuriken constantly.
Right.
It's not that Thief needs sub-nin either. They have dual wield, but for the utility, I think it'd be nice.
Unless we bring back War Nin. Hold on, we bring back Warrior Ninja, and then we're talking.
Oh,
I don't think we need to do that, actually, now that you mentioned that. Thank you.
Dancer has one of the highest throwing skills, so maybe that's a good.
That'd be interesting.
I think
but that would be like Yeah. Hmm.
I
You wouldn't
think
really
throwing.
get anything else from Ninja aside from Dokken for Ninja though, because you already have dual wield. You don't really need shadows, but
I think Sange, the merit ability that makes Daken proc every time, but consumes Shuriken, that should just be
Mhm.
like a barrage instead. It should be a barrage.
Hmm.
And the other problem with Shuriken, I think, there's no weapon skill associated with Shuriken, with throwing in general. Throwing doesn't
Yeah.
have a weapon skill. So if they were to do those two things, I think throwing would be a lot, or Shuriken at least would be a lot more cool.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea. To be honest, I know this may come as a surprise, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I have not poured much thought into a universal shuriken build, uh, personally. Um,
Why not?
I don't know. That's a great question. I'm
Yeah.
gonna rethink my life choices after this one, and
Yeah.
really, really, maybe go stare at a wall for a little bit and see if I can
Mhm.
come up with some better life decisions.
Mhm.
But I
About
don't know,
time,
man.
dude.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
next
Well,
question. If your adventuring fellow was allowed to be a trust, what role would you have them
Mm.
play?
If I guess like if my adventuring fellow could take the role of a trust and it was upgraded to a point where it's like 119 high potency, all this other stuff, probably healer. I think having a reliable healer that is like has smart AI is probably the most valuable thing.
Yeah, that's got to be the right answer, I think. Do you even have a
um,
adventuring fellow?
Not currently. I used to have a maxed out fellow on my original character, and
My thing is, my
I
adventuring fellow is a Galka, so he's got no MP.
oh hell yeah.
oh, I thought you guys were gonna say Bard. If
Well,
like you
I guess I was
can,
thinking about which jobs the adventuring fellow can currently do because I
Yeah,
don't
they
think it
usually
can be a
do
bard.
ED tank
But
or healer.
oh,
if
I
you
don't
could
even
make it
know
into a
what jobs
bard,
it can do. Yeah.
yeah, it was like not even real jobs. It was like you set it to
Stalwart healer.
offensive, defensive, or healer.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. Okay.
so yeah, I don't know if you could fully customize it, like we were talking about before, like they update the adventuring fellow, it becomes like you can just set its job, you can give it all any equipment that you have, you
Yeah.
could give it your Dardabla, etc. Then I would definitely make it a bard. But
Hmm.
in the current system, probably just healer.
Yeah,
Or
I think
even
he.
like a Geo, I think would be good.
Ooh,
Like
that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
Geo would be
I'd like
great.
I'd like
Yeah.
a real Geo other than Sylvie.
yeah.
Then I could do a different. I could do Aparuru or Yorin Orin.
Hmm.
Yeah, even a Geo with like that you could throw the +2 neck on would be more than enough. Not even an Idris. But yeah, cool. What do we got next?
I'm grinding my mules to 99. Should they pick up Rhapsody's Vanadil key item first and all other quests required, or shoot straight to 99 and limit breaks? I assume I have an alt that can help them out. Well, yeah, your main. These are mules, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he could be.
It could be
Yeah.
on the same account. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it depends on how you want to play. I'd
Yeah.
probably do a couple pieces of ROV along the way to like do the sub job stuff and like the
Yeah.
trust and EXP bonuses. But outside of that, I'd probably focus on burning to 99 myself.
I think the best answer is doing it in tandem a little bit. But it depends on how far you want to take these mules. Like if you want to just get them to 99 to do a man trove, then you don't even need to do anything. But if you want to do like
Hmm.
bring them around with you and buff you and stuff, then getting those key items from Rhapsodies really helps in the long run.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like if you're assuming you're gonna get cleaved, right? You're gonna cleave Esha Zeta. You have to do up to access to Esha Zeta
No,
in
you don't.
Rhapsodies. You
You can go
can
there at
freely
level 1.
go in this at level 1. Oh, cool.
Yep.
Well, ignore that part then. So, but at the same time, like you're probably gonna want to unlock a sub job. You're probably gonna want to do basically the initial parts of ROV. And at that point, you're like right before Rhapsody in White. And I think like there somebody that's thought about it a lot more could probably do a math breakdown on like the amount of EXP bonus you get from each Rhapsody. Like Rhapsody in White is like a huge bump to EXP earned. So the take that and like how much more EXP are you going to get while you're cleaving yourself? And how much time would you save by doing the next set of missions to go to Rhapsody and whatever's next?
I'd just like to go on a side tangent and just ask real quick if you could refrain from using the term cleaving yourself again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'd
assume you're
appreciate
cleaving
that.
yourself right now.
Yeah, please. Let's not
Why
let's
does
not do
cleaving
that anymore.
yourself trigger you?
Anyway,
I'm cleaving
go on,
myself
Heghmoh.
right now.
And I'm having a great time.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's probably a mathematical breakdown of like percent, the amount of time it takes to go to the next Rhapsody versus the amount of additional EXP you're going to gain. You might save time by doing more ROV, but you know, ultimately, it's just a question of how much time do you want to spend in Eshazita killing dragons or whatever.
True.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, man?
No, I think he summed it up nicely. I'm proud of you, Heghmoh.
Mm-hmm.
And then Huevos finishes off with comment, since Square Enix clearly listens to the podcast in italics, please give us a lock style hand to hand that has no model so people can punch barehanded. I kind of just said that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna bash people in there with a rock.
there you go.
Thanks again. Thanks for this space. I appreciate what y'all do. Best, Huevos. I know it's Huevos.
Alternatively, Hulk hands. But anyway.
Yeah, just really big hands, like big head mode in
Mhm.
Oh wait! I have a better one because you don't have to like IP steal. Just make it Galca hands.
There you go.
I think it just take whatever your hands are and scale them up like 500%. So like,
I'm saying like whatever the Galca hand model is, like expand that 30%, so even Galca can wear Galca hands. But then like any job that wears the Galca hands, whenever they punch, they go Uniga, Uniga.
they
Oh,
get
God.
the voice line.
Oh,
That'd
God.
be
That'd
so
be cool.
great, dude. I'd
Yeah.
love that.
Okay, I'm okay with
Because,
this.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want my whole my ears being spammed with Udiyas left and right.
It's sort of like
Are you the one that the type of person that's mad when someone brings a Kraken Club with the cat hammer?
oh
I
yeah,
think
you
that's
put Kraken
hilarious.
Club
I love
and you
that,
lock
actually.
style it
Yeah.
with the Kate Sith hammer.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
funny.
Just get all those meows in.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of akin to that, and you don't see Monk too often, so why not let their Galca out?
Okay, you got a fair point there. I'll allow it this time.
You're a man, a legend.
Yeah, thank you for the email. Really appreciate it. So guys, I'll be honest with you today. By the way, welcome in everybody. This is episode 26 of the Blur podcast. We didn't really introduce ourselves. I think it's 26.
It is 26.
Great. Today we're going to be doing a job episode, and I did absolutely no preparation for this week, so we're going to be doing it straight off the cuff. We have no outline. I don't really know where we're going to be going with this, but
while we're talking, you could just plug in to ChatGPT, like write me an outline for.
Oh, that is a really good idea. You know, I've used ChatGPT for outlines before, and they normally come out like super convoluted and really annoying sounding. But maybe
also
maybe it'll
like
be different this time.
It's very confident in understanding Final Fantasy 11 sometimes, and there was some debate in Discord the other day about like, because it was like Treasure Hunter has no effect on this, and then Dex was like it does, and then there was a lot of back and forth about what the truth was.
So in your Discord, someone was like, Peach Power is unaffected by Treasure Hunter, and this is why. And they showed this huge ChatGPT breakdown where it's like, Peach Power is actually an instance, and rewards and instances are given out at the end. And I was like, you get a drop per flan. It happens.
Yeah.
As you kill the flan, it goes into your inventory. And then they were like, well, actually, checkmate. And then they posted another ChatGPT response where it was like, actually, you're wrong.
Oh man.
Yeah, so like
That's crazy.
it's not always necessarily correct. It might be confident. So I think you'd pretty like it'd be pretty immediately obvious that we were going off a ChatGPT script. If we started talking about Ranger or whatever, and we were like, yeah, so anyway, hover shot works like this, and it's just absolutely categorically wrong. But we're just super confident about it.
Yeah,
Plus,
let me
just like like I finally got paid from Blurred Podcast this week.
Mhm.
So like I'm not
Mm.
ready to go to, like, if you said ChatGPT the outline last week, I'd be like, yeah, let's phone it in. Who cares? But now I have like some like stake in the success. I think we gotta put some effort in here.
Yeah, yeah. Let's address that real quick. Now that
You got paid?
you, I have receipts for both of you getting
Mhm.
paid, and now that you have been, I expect full obedience and no more talkback.
Yeah.
Is that understood?
Mm.
Okay,
Um,
Papa.
the best weapon by according to ChatGPT for Ranger is the Armageddon, followed by
Ooh.
Gandiva.
Ooh.
Um. It also says that the
Solid.
best relic gun is Annihilator, so that's good to know.
Okay.
Out of all the relic guns that you can get, you should get the Annihilator.
Oh, nice.
And then the best situational piece is the Empyrean crossbow, the Gastrophides, and the Fail Not, the Aeonic bow. So,
Now ask
um,
ChatGPT. Does it know about prime weapons?
oh man. Well, apparently not, because it didn't list a single one. And it also gave me a picture of a musket from a different game, from Final Fantasy 12. Gave me a
Nice.
picture of a musket from Final Fantasy 12.
Wait,
That's
ChatGPT
interesting.
can give you pictures?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Hmm. Especially if you ask it to.
That sounds like a
Um,
slope.
it won't.
So
I'm just speaking entirely from my understanding of ChatGPT, not anything I've ever like tried to do. It will not give you anything that is against its like moral compass. So it won't do like anything involving nudity or
yeah,
anything like that.
I've asked
Wait
it
a
to
minute.
help me
Wait for
cheat
it.
on school stuff before, and it was like, no, I can't do that. So then I just asked it to give me answers for tests, and I was like, okay. Um, so the moral compass is pretty flexible. Uh,
Hmm.
but what I wanted to start with is when we did our very first episode, which was State of the Meta, we put Ranger pretty low on that tier list. I
Mm.
think
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
remember correctly, we put it on like C or D tier, probably D if I remember. And oh my god, my dog is scratching himself and he's so loud. I'm sorry. Um, would you guys agree with that compared to other jobs as far
Mm.
as Ranger goes? Where do you think it lines up?
Yeah.
I think
I
compared to a year ago, it's probably maybe one tier higher. It's just
yeah.
used
It's
a little bit more.
I think increasingly there's more content where Rangers used, but I think like in terms of an overall meta, you looking at the entire game, I would say CB is probably pretty fair. It's just like Ranger is exceptionally good in specific things, like a lot of Master Trial, like a current, even the current like Wing of War and stuff. I think relies on a lot of Ranger. Ranger's fantastic for Limbus NMs and stuff like that, but but it's not like if you're going for a sortie run or like just general gameplay, it's not quite as viable. It's not quite as useful because of how Ranger works. But
So
I
you would
think
say B,
years
even though you
ago,
say it's not viable for a lot of stuff.
I think that it's like so super useful for niche things, and that balances out with the fact that it doesn't really work for a lot of other things. To become an average of B.
I think like 2 years ago, Mage Sortie was a lot more popular, and Ranger fits really well into Mage Sortie in place of a Scholar, in place of the second Scholar. You can do fat skill chains, damage cap, true flights into light. It's really powerful there. But since
Mhm.
that strategy has fallen off, Ranger saw less play in Sortie. Um, I think Ranger has the potency to do incredibly strong as a Savage Blader in both Ambuscade, or not Ambuscade, Limbus and Segment Farms.
Yeah.
It's one of the better DDs there. A good Ranger with a Kraken Club can typically put out the same type of DPS as a Prime Great Katana user or Prime
Mm.
Spear user. Um, but like outside of that, it depends on when fights are applicable for ranged strategies. And I would
Yeah.
say that all the Limbus NMs are very, very range friendly. Uh, you can probably be one of the better DPS in that room of however many people are helping if you're on ranger.
Because you really benefit from two things as ranger in the Limbus NMs. One, that those fights are longer fights, so you
Yes.
have more time to stack up more hover shot, which means you're just stronger. And that's the downfall of ranger and something like sortie. A lot of times is that like hover shot stacks on the enemy you're shooting, not on the ranger. So like every time you go into a boss, you're rebuilding hover shot. And so if you're doing them as Zergs, which you have to for an 8 boss, like you're or a 9 boss, you're never gonna you wouldn't be nine boss on Ranger necessarily, but you just never have a chance to build up maximum hover shot because it's dead so fast. But in Limbus NMs you do. And then there is safety. I think they really get to capitalize on the safety of range attacks in all of those fights, just staying out of the AoEs and stuff like that.
It's not just that they're far away from AoEs, and it's not just that their hover shot is like stacking faster. It's also like the hover shot enmity plus the general
True. Yeah, yeah.
builds that have minus enmity on them. Ranger almost is always minus 50% enmity. So you're gonna pull hate a lot less often.
Yeah.
And in the Limbus fights, when I go Ranger, I'll sub Dragoon, so I'm like never pulling hate.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't rate Ranger nearly as high as you do.
Really?
Yeah.
Debated.
Well, I have a Ranger. I've done every level of V25 air body, or sorry, every level of air body. I've done all sorts of stuff with Ranger, and I think if you guys are talking about like, I'll use Dark Knight as an example. It's a selfish DPS. One second.
Mm-hmm.
It's a selfish
Mhm.
DPS with very, very little utility. Ranger has even less utility. The only utility that it has is low enmity, like enmity control. So to me, that's a Dragoon that doesn't do as much damage and isn't as applicable. Like it's cool. It does some fun stuff. You can do all those things that you guys said, but in order to like do that stuff, you need fucking 7, 8 Rimas and a Kraken club and how much gear? Like that's to me that's absurd. Like I
Yes,
love Ranger
I mean,
as much as anybody else, but like I very rarely use it unless I'm trying to force it into something because it doesn't seamlessly fit into stuff unless
yeah.
it's very, very few fights.
Well, I mean, it also just suffers from the way ranged attacks work. Like unless you're doing melee ranger savage blades, like you're really fragile. You're inevitably kind of glass cannon because it also doesn't have very many defensive things going on. And like because ranged attacking, building hover shot is complicated. Ranged attacks are a macro or like a menu interaction instead of being an auto attack, all this other stuff. It's just more complicated to play in general, even without considering the gear limitations.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, it is, I don't know, it's more technical and it's just more difficult to get to that point. But I will say that like, I don't know, I still think that it does have a certain niche benefit that pumps it up to be pretty valuable. There's a reason why people use it still.
When do people use it is my question.
Just boss
Uh,
fights, really.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
on
yeah.
specific boss fights primarily. I mean, it's like
Which
sort of like
boss fight?
dancing,
We have
right?
Limbus and we
Like,
have our body.
yeah.
It's
I mean, I
too
would say like you compare it to like something like Dancer, right? Dancer has this really niche ability to do ridiculous amounts of weapon skill damage without really feeding any TP if it wants to. And that's exclusively why so many people use it for Ammonon and why it's so prevalent. And that's really the only time it shines
Hmm.
exceptionally.
So I
But
think my qualm with that is that Dancer gets used exactly like how you're using or you're saying at potentially every day. Ranger gets
yeah,
used in that same way maybe once a month. If you're doing
yeah, that's
Limbus
fair.
NMs every month.
That's fair.
That's kind of like my biggest like thing is there's no content that you're consistently doing that you're playing
Right.
Ranger as a ranged DD, and most of the time you're playing it's because you want to play Ranger, you're having fun using a Kraken club and doing melee stuff, but it doesn't really do anything that no other jobs can do.
Fair. I mean, I think there's some ambuscades that really benefit from Ranger. There's some, your Wing of War, etc., that require Ranger. But yeah, to your point, like it's not a daily activity, and that's, I guess, just not necessarily a problem with the job, but a problem with the meta.
Right.
Like there's a problem with the content that we have right now.
Like I wish if I were to wish one thing on Ranger, it would be like just overhauling how ranged attacks work.
Mhm.
So it could be, or like you said many times, like making hover shot a buff that stacks on yourself. I think that would fix a lot of
Yeah.
problems. But to me, like I play Ranger when my Ling Shell does Omen and I want to like play around and fuck around with a prime bow and just like sit back and
Yeah.
one shot mobs and stuff like that, and that's about it. Like there's not a lot of chances to play Ranger. Even when I had my Kraken club for like 4 or 5 years, and I still like very rarely had a chance to play Ranger unless I
Sounds
was
like a
trying to
choice.
force it into something. Yeah, it is. It's a choice of, do you want to play the job enough that you're going to force it into stuff, or do you want to play it like and have the job feel good? In my
You say
opinion.
force it, but whenever I do Limbus runs on Ranger, I'm doing like the most damage in the party.
Because you're just like savage blading stuff. I don't know. I don't enjoy that playstyle. Like you can
That's fair. You don't have
you
to
can
enjoy it.
do as much damage as another heavy DD, but I don't think you're really you're not helping the party. You're not doing anything except for more damage. So
I'm
that's the
helping
same
the
reason
party
we
by killing
that's the same reason we criticize Dark Knight. So
Yeah.
I don't think Dark Knight is good either. I think Ranger is worse than Dark Knight. I just think Ranger has been seen more utility in terms of its use in
yeah.
Now we don't have to get into this weird conspiracy of Dark Knight hate that you guys have, which I think is unfounded. But we'll save that for a later episode.
I think it's just the easiest comparison of a DD that doesn't like offer stuff to the party. I guess Sam could also be like placed on that, but
if you want to get weird about it, like I think Ranger is worse than Dark Knight in that it's much more niche in its application, but Ranger is used more than Dark Knight in terms of like a meta sense.
Is it?
There's no fights that really ask for a Dark Knight specifically.
Mm.
I think
all.
Dark
I think
Knight
a
is
lot
more interchangeable with stuff though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
that
it's
people
like it's
use
always
Dark
worse.
Knight for a lot more. People use Dark Knight for Sortie 8 boss runs. People use
Yeah.
Dark Knight all the time for a lot of content. I mean, Dark also. I mean, we're pivoting into a Dark conversation, which maybe we shouldn't. But like Dark also, the thing that I think stands out to me is that, well, Ranger has like the safety of range. Like Dark Knight actually has a lot of like defensive abilities, and like, it might not bring a lot to the party in terms of party buffs, but like Dark Knight being able to cap its HP, being able to uh you know
Being
absorb
able to,
all
like,
the absorbs and stuff like that. It has so
give
much
guard spells or
viability with
spikes and kill the whole
its
party.
job abilities and stuff. But
I don't mean to like shift the focus onto Dark Knight, but I'm just flipping Myth's argument. I'm like returning the argument to him, where he's saying like Ranger doesn't I like lost my train of thought, but Ranger doesn't see play unless you force it into content, and I'm saying like Dark Knight fits that description
That's
because
fair.
like most meta content, like I hate the meta thing, but like yeah, it's interchangeable with other DDs, but most of the time you're picking another DD first unless someone plays Dark Knight because they like it. And then they're like, I want to play Dark Knight. It's like, well, Dark Knight can work, so sure.
So
I mean,
let's
yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of like meta picks, though, I would put Dark Knight higher than like Ranger and Ninja and some of these other
And
jobs
I
that.
still agree with that
But
because of
yeah,
its flexibility. Whereas
yeah.
Ranger is more niche in its application, but there are more fights in the game that require Ranger, whereas Dark Knight is not required for any
I'm just
fight.
gonna say that Heghmoh just equated Ranger to Ninja, and that told me everything I needed to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's a real question, because I don't want it to seem like I'm just dogging on Ranger. I really do like the job, but here's what I want to start with. would you recommend Ranger to a new player? Why or why not?
Mm. I would not. I would not recommend it to a new player. I when people come back to the game or they're new to the game, I always recommend they play the job that they want to play first, because like that's you if you hate playing the game because you're not playing Ranger, then why play the game? So like play if you really feel passionately about Ranger, I definitely recommend it to you. But if you're looking for like a meta pick and you want something that's going to be useful and viable, I think Ranger, like you said earlier, the in order to feel like it's contributing enough to a party, you need so much gear. Like you need so many remas, you need a Kraken club, you need like all this stuff. All of your sets have to be on point with like all of your pre-shot and all of these you need physical weapon skills, magic weapon skills. It's just a lot of investment, and to not get a massive return. It's like you're putting in 500% the work that you would if you picked something super meta like Warrior, but you're getting 75% of the return on it.
I feel like to piggyback off your statement, it's like I players who start this game should definitely have their passion job. They might not play it first, but it's the job they want to work on, at least on the side, at all times. It's the thing that they like the most, and whether they're playing it in content to gear it or they're playing something else in content to gear it, they should have that in mind, right? Like, I'm doing this right now, but on the side, I'm working on a thing I love. I think that's really healthy, and I think every player should have that mentality. So they get their kind of like they scratch the itch, right? It might be a nostalgia thing. It might just be like I thought it looked cool, but it's the best way to approach it because not every job is used for every situation, even outside of a meta scenario. Like you can't use every job all the time. Um,
Yeah.
but then that being said, like if you wanted to play Ranger, I think the best and most reasonable approach that everyone has for it, outside of maybe like 1%, is you make a Corsair and then you play Corsair. Everyone plays Corsair as Savage Blade and they don't shoot. And then they slowly, like, if they start to invest in their Corsair, they make a shooting set and they expand it, yada yada. And then suddenly, like, you look at your Corsair a year later and you look at yourself in the mirror, like, I have all the Ranger gear. Let's just
Mhm.
make a Ranger.
Yeah. See, I went the opposite route, and I made a Ranger, and I refused to make a Corsair.
Yeah, because you're psycho. You're a one.
uh, but that's a conversation for another time. I just don't enjoy playing core that much. But I basically agree with you guys. If I were to like encourage someone to make a Ranger, it would be as their like fourth or fifth job. Uh, and I would also let them know that they probably want a lot of resources going into that
Yeah.
because it's going to be a big time and gil investment for and I would also suggest like putting a goal in mind for using it. Like I don't think I would have enjoyed the fact that I made Ranger if I also wasn't working on our body at the time. Like this
Right.
was back when I ran a Odyssey static and nobody had Ranger, so I geared Ranger and we cleared our body with it and it was a lot of fun. And that was like my fulfilling moment, and then I put it in storage for like 3 years.
Right.
So
I mean, I
it's
think
just
that
one of those things.
there are still some viable like mid-end game things where Ranger's actually really great, even if you're coming back to the game and you're playing catch up. Like Ranger does great in Dynamis Divergence. Ranger does great in a lot of Omen. You know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
you don't have to be going to V25 Embos or V25 our body or whatever to really benefit from having a Ranger. But again, like the amount of investment of time and resources is going to be really high.
Even with just a fail knot, I've seen Ranger do like damage cat flaming arrows in Dynamis Divergence.
Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah,
I
flaming arrow is
think
crazy.
on a side note, and we can probably talk about this later. I think Failnaught is slightly underrated as far as weapons go.
Mm.
I think it has a few use cases that we can, maybe get into later. But
Well, like with all the bows, they get compared to their gun their gun alternative.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Fomalhaw is just so much stronger in flexibility and its physical weapon skill. It doesn't rely on.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. The problem with bows isn't that bows are bad. The problem with bows is that bow weapon skills are bad. With the exception of Sarv and like when you can exploit flaming arrow or something like that. Like none of the weapon skill formulas on the bow weapon skills just really suck. Is I think the primary issue.
Yeah. So let's discuss like a fresh 99 Ranger. Let's assume that they don't have, malignance and 18,000 different remas and all of that
Mhm.
stuff. What would you suggest that they begin working on gear-wise, and what would you want them to know about the playstyle of the job?
You want to go first, Tag, or me?
I mean, I can. My really quick answer is malignance. I mean, it's probably going to take you a really long way, just because like anybody that's fresh to 99, you should be seeking your jobs like DT set, and I think that malignance is probably the shortest route towards that, and then pick a Rima that you want to start progressing towards is probably a good start. And then playstyle wise, I would say, um, if you're a fresh ranger in Final Fantasy 11 most of the time in a lot of content is not a traditional range class in that you can just sit back and shoot your bow all the time. You're going to have to be frontline melee attacking and all that other stuff as well. So like you make sure that you're doing those things.
I'd say Ranger, depending on the content, pivots from meleeing to only ranging. It's not like
Yeah,
one
yeah,
way
but
or
I
the
mean,
other.
if you're in Dynamis, right? You're in Dynamis Divergence, and your group's running around, killing statues and killing red eyes and all this other stuff, doing halos, and you're
You're
like
doing
back there doing a /RAT every 5 seconds. Like you're not going to be
time.
contributing much.
But if for Ranger, like if you're doing that, you would be meleeing, but then you would still
Yeah,
be using ranged weapon skills because they're your best option in most scenarios.
So here's a question,
Um,
since we're talking about like fresh 99s. Would you guys recommend like somebody mastering, let's say somebody's out there in the gates, in the trenches, like killing apex bats with their trusts? Would you tell them that they should be meleeing or ranged attacking, and why?
I would say
I
they
would
should
say
be.
melee.
I disagree.
What were you saying,
But
Dex?
why do you guys say melee?
I think when you have trusts and you're like a fresh player like that, you're you know what? I could see both arguments, right? If you're fighting bats, you're gonna get that piercing bonus. So Ranger's not a bad choice there. If you want to get familiar, like as a new player, if you want to get familiar with how hover shot works and you want to
Mm,
get experience in doing those fights,
Yeah, that was
I think
my mhm.
I think being at range and just shooting and then weapon skilling will not do you a bad way. Like it won't be bad.
fair, fair, fair,
The
fair.
reason why I kind of gravitated towards Heghmoh's answer to melee was because I think it'll be faster. The things you're
Yeah,
fighting are dangerous in terms of their AoE output, in terms of their, the things that they're casting or their weapon skills. That's kind of the real reason to stay away in most scenarios that Ranger's popular for is because the mob has something that's like very dangerous up close. So since it's not
Mhm.
necessary, I think you're gonna just get more TP faster, so you can weapon skill, and you can still use
Mhm.
ranged weapon skills up close.
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, like building your stacks and doing fat ranged attacks is probably like a great way to practice and get comfortable with the play style that you'll need to swap to when those fights do come up for you. Um,
Yeah.
Another thing I would say about playing with like trusts and fighting apex mobs is trust tanks are kind of shit. And if you're at a range and you're like shooting stuff, even with hover shot stacked at like 50% minus 50 enmity, I think you're still gonna pull hate more than like a real tank would be able to manage. And then the mob is just gonna be running around all over the place and it's chaotic and it's hard to deal with.
Yeah, it's fair. Um, I feel like hover shot is often talked about as being one of the more difficult skills to master as
yeah.
a player. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I can kind of see where people come from just because it is so much different than playing like a melee job, right? You have to make sure that you move the proper distance. You got to make sure that you're balancing, that you're not moving too much and losing DPS, but you're moving enough to maintain your hover shot stacks. And you got to make sure that you're doing that correctly every single time without interrupting yourself too much, which is another big thing because ranged attacks will get interrupted if you're moving. So, necessitating that you move between each shot makes it so that you're going to be interrupted more often. I feel like hover shot is something that all new rangers should work on getting used to.
Yeah, that's true. And hover shot, like, arguably is the biggest steroid of any job ability in the game.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Let's take a look at rangers' other job abilities that we have here, and discuss when they're going to be used and like how important they are. So Eagle Eye Shot obviously is the 2 hour. Dex,
I think
you've
it's
done
slept
some
on.
cool stuff with Eagle Eye Shot.
Yeah, I think it's slept on, but it is one of the weaker SPs in the game in that it's one shot. It gives one shot's worth of TP. It can do like a weapon skill worth of damage. Um, I'd recommend anyone like gearing Eagle Eye Shot to gear it for crit because it can crit.
Yeah. And that's where like the best damage comes from Eagle Eye Shot, right? I remember like doing Eagle Eye shots, and especially the first time I played Ranger was in like the Ranger. You take Ranger to Dynamis Divergence just for True Flight, and like that was the first time I was seeing consistent cap damage weapon skills. It was just mind blowing. Um, but Eagle Eye, so you build up to be able to do these cap damage weapon skills, and then you do Eagle Eye Shot for like 8,000 damage. And you're like, what's the point of this 2 hour? But yeah, I've seen some people do crit Eagle Eye shots that are crazy.
Eagle Eye Shot does 5 times the damage of a normal ranged attack, but it can
Mm,
crit. It can, any effect that applies to it would apply. Like snapshot applies to save the ammo. Um,
mm.
True shot distance applies to it. All the factors that apply to your ranged attack apply to Eagle Eye Shot. So
Why
gearing
is
it up to do max attack, max crit. Um, I think even just like not even focusing on store TP is really reasonable. Just
yeah,
you're popping the SP, you want to do as much damage as possible.
why is Eagle Eye Shot as a SP? And maybe it's just how the game has evolved as we've gone to 99 and beyond. Why is Eagle Eye, if it does 5x damage, why is it effectively a worse barrage?
Barrage, yes, that's its biggest
Yeah.
criticism. I think Eagle Eye Shot, if you were to rework Ranger, I think Eagle Eye Shot would be a great 20-minute ability, like a random
Mm.
deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'd be cool. The next ability that's on this list, it looks like it's kind of out of order here, but it's Velocity Shot, and Velocity Shot is
Mm.
a big one. Um,
Velocity
Yeah.
Shot is probably Ranger's second strongest ability in the game. Like Hover Shot now being the strongest because it gives so much attack, so much minus enmity, everything. Velocity Shot is probably its second strongest in that it does reduce your melee attack speed. So it's kind of like if you're gonna be meleeing, you want to turn it off, and if you're gonna be shooting only, you want to turn it on. But it basically makes your shot rounds a lot faster in frequency. It reduces the delay between shots, and it exceeds the snapshot cap, so it goes beyond snapshot. And
Mhm.
also, in conjunction with the Empyrean body, it provides like percent ranged attack, which is really potent.
and that can be
Yeah.
amplified by the Empyrean body that just came out. Well, I say just came out; it came out like 3 years ago, 4 years ago now.
That's what I'm saying. You
Um,
in conjunction with the Empyrean body, you're gaining like 11+% range attack, which is really
yeah, it's
potent.
super strong. Basically, when are you using Velocity Shot, Dex? Are you using it while you're meleeing or just at range?
Only range.
Yeah. Because doesn't it decreases your normal belly attacks, right? It reduces the
Yes,
attack
it
power and
reduces
speed of your melee.
the speed. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog he decided to pull his leash out. and he was running around banging metal all over our living room, being a fucking psychopath. So I'm having a lot of fun right now. I just want you guys to know that.
Cool.
You want the WALK?
Well, I took him for a walk before we went out. Before
Oh,
we
so he doesn't recognize the word? Like, you saying it out loud doesn't make him go into a
he
seizure?
he doesn't know it yet. He's too young.
Okay.
We've only been cleared to go on walks this week, so we started going out. And so far, like, we went out for a walk today. There's a park that has like a little track, and it took us 30 minutes to do one lap because he would have just chewed on a stick on the side of the path instead of actually walking. So it's been a thing. So I'm just gonna throw three job abilities out here all at the same time that we can kind of discuss together because they're often used at the same time. Sharp shot, camouflage, and barrage. When are you guys using these ones?
Camouflage doesn't come up often.
You don't use camouflage for
Yeah.
the crit rate on barrage?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work with barrage.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Any job ability or weapon skill will cancel camouflage, and barrage cancels camouflage.
Well, you barrage and then you camouflage and then you shoot.
The shot cancels it.
Oh, does it really? No, I
Yeah.
thought you could shoot with camouflage up.
Well,
you sure?
the shot cancels it, but I thought you could shoot with the crit rate.
I don't think
Camouflage
it
reduces
applies
the enmity generated by ranged attacks while it is in effect. While ranged weapon skills and abilities will immediately make the effect of camouflage wear off, normal ranged attacks may still be used and have only a small chance to
says
make
normal
the
ranged
camouflage
attack.
effect. But I
Yeah.
mean, if you put barrage up and then
It's not considered a
camouflage,
normal range
you
attack because when
you
it
are
shows
doing a
up in the
ranged
log,
attack.
it shows up in the log as barrage. It's like
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that. Cool. So I guess don't use barrage for that.
you know what? Give me 3 seconds. I'm just gonna verify that I'm not lying.
Mhm. I mean,
Gonna
I
do a
believe you. I've always done camouflage when I do remember to do it before barrage, and I can't say that I've noticed a big difference with it on or
typically,
off.
I only camouflage if there's a period of time where I need to slow down weapon skilling, or if I need to get AM3 up, so I need to do more ranged attacks, or if
Okay, according to this guide from 2023, it does not work with weapon skills, barrage, or any other fun stuff. So yeah,
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I think it's very its best use camouflage is using with like Armageddon, or yeah, so you get the AM3 with Armageddon, and
Yeah.
then if you're not trying to pull hate, like you're just gonna range attack, you can do a lot of fat triple damage proc from Empyrean Aftermath white hits, while keeping your enmity down. Even though you should be capped with hover shot anyway, which is kind of why camouflage is a little redundant.
Yeah, that makes
But the
sense.
crit rate is nice. So you're gonna get 20% crit rate from the job gift. Just like you get AM3 up, you especially if you can pop SP2 overkill, and then you camouflage and you just go to town, you can do a lot of damage just white hitting instead of weapon skilling.
Nice.
I think in a perfect world, camouflage would get updated to not cancel during anything. It would just go until it goes, and it falls off.
Yeah, it used to be cool with the enmity reduction, right? But now, since hover shot's basically capping it, it's aged
Yeah,
pretty poorly.
it was much stronger before. I think
Cool.
hover shot takes the same spot as what is it? Stealth shot? No, not stealth shot. What's it called?
I think it's decoy.
Decoy.
Yeah.
Decoy shot would get used back in the day, pretty often, and with decoy shot, you didn't need to worry so much about enmity. So there's Ranger has so many tools that are enmity reducing rather than shredding. Maybe if camouflage shredded enmity, it would be a stronger ability. Like during
Oh, like
camouflage, range attack reduces
shed it
the
off.
enmity
Yeah.
that you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
The modern game after master levels has evolved to the point where all your DDs can easily sub Dragoon and get super jump. So any enmity reducing or enmity adjusting abilities all kind of like fail in comparison to that.
Yeah.
That's the reason why Thief is a lot weaker than it ever was, even though it wasn't that popular to use its enmity stuff. Like
Mhm.
that stuff is just completely fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
I think Ranger's in a similar place between camouflage and all its other enmity spots.
Yeah. But let's see, back to Sharp Shot and Barrage, because those two definitely stack. And a lot of the times you probably want that extra accuracy on Barrage.
Yeah, there's no reason not to get the extra accuracy because the way Sharp Shot works is during its duration, your ranged accuracy is normally capped at 95%, and Sharp
Hmm.
Shot lowers that ability to miss from 5% to 1%. You get a
Oh,
99%
damn.
accuracy. So having Sharp Shot
Yeah.
up during your barrage just means like more than likely every hit is going to hit.
Hmm.
The way barrage
Mm.
works is it shoots, and then behind the scenes it goes, are you gonna hit the next shot? Are you gonna hit the next shot? Are
Yeah.
you gonna hit the next shot? And it decides until you miss, and then it applies that many ranged attacks at once up to the cap.
And Barrage is very unique in that it reports as one hit in the chat log, but it's actually all those separate hits added up. So it's one of the only single abilities or single things that'll report in the log that will break the 99,999
So
damage.
satisfying when you do. You get like 120k barrage. It's
Yeah.
so
We've seen some like doing bats and like full PDIF capped and doing something silly and just trying to abuse it and just seeing like a 250k barrage shot is dumb.
I'm telling you, getting breaking damage cap on things that are really like difficult, like
Yeah.
Arabati or a Master
Mm.
Trial. It's seeing the damage cap on that is just like a whole nother degree of like
Yeah.
endorphins.
Yeah, every time Shiraj is in a chat and everybody comes up, he posts your barrage screenshots. Um so and for those of you who haven't seen Shiraj relentlessly spam praise and glaze Dexprozius,
Mhm.
he's gotten like
Is the best ranger that plays the game. Yeah.
110k barrages on Arabati V25, something like that, multiple times.
That's with
Um
Annihilate.
and let's say this for the people that are maybe trying to learn about Ranger. How do you gear out your barrage set for that?
It's you got to use the I think it's the artifact gloves that give the extra shot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Outside of that, it's mostly just attack really. Attack
you're
and
just
crit.
stacking as much attack as you
You
can. So
want to
like,
crit, you want to get as much as possible. You want to crit it. So each hit can like if barrage hits a crit, all the
mhm,
hits crit.
mhm,
It's another reason why it's a lot more reasonable to get a high number because you only need one of them to trigger.
mhm. So when you're talking about attack, you're talking about things like the Empyrean body, probably the +2 neck, and then like the other pieces besides the AF +4 are probably going to be like what, either Empyrean or maybe Ikenga's.
Ikenga's is really strong.
Hmm.
Uh, Relic, +3 or 4 is really strong.
Hmm.
High attack. The
Yeah,
feet give high
the
attack
feet
and
give
crit.
crazy amounts.
The relic, Empyrean legs give high attack and crit, and store TP. um, the thing about barrage, right, is so many hits are hitting that you don't really need to focus on store TP. You should be getting enough to weapon skill afterwards, regardless. Sometimes you'll just get 3k, so you don't need to focus on store TP. You can focus on making it hit and making it hit hard.
Yeah.
I don't even think you really need the relic. Oh, sorry, the JSE neck. The JSE
Mm,
neck is like 25 accuracy, 25 agility, store TP, and PDL. If you're at attack
right.
cap, the PDL is really nice though.
Hmm.
But you could probably do like what is that neck called? Iskar Gorget, which has more attack.
Oh, sure.
Just stuff like that. Those little decisions to just squeeze out more damage for that ability.
Cool.
Sharp shot also gives attack, so using it in conjunction just works out really well.
Yeah.
Typically, though, I think because of merits, Sharp shot is usually off cooldown more often than barrage. People will
Oh
typically
yeah.
save it. Like it's off cooldown, but it doesn't mean just to pop it right away. Like you should just save it.
Hmm. So we can move on to Rangers like one and only like utility ability, which I don't know about
Shadowbind.
you, but I think I feel like Shadowbind is underutilized a lot of the time. But yeah,
Shadowbind is really strong. It's a guaranteed bind.
yeah, it's super useful. And
It lasts for a long
like
time.
it definitely saves lives in fights like Our Body V25 if like one of the pigs is running around and you can do a clutch shadow bind and make sure that the pig is not hitting somebody you don't need it hitting. But then you got to remind people that it's only bound, so if you run close to it, you're still going to get smacked.
Yeah, they're gonna get mollywopped. I
Yeah.
think because of fights like Arabati, where you can very predictably know when the ads are gonna spawn. They spawn at a specific percentage of health, whether it's 75 or 40. You can very much stop tunnel visioning damage and pause for like a brief moment, like hover over Shadowbind and get ready to target the pig that's gonna come out and Shadowbind
Yeah.
it immediately. And that
Hmm.
would give the Paladin plenty of opportunity to pull hate on it.
Yeah. Shadowbind's
I
great
didn't
and
uh I didn't realize Shadowbind was like 100% land. That's cool.
yeah, it's super useful and it can definitely come in clutch. But I feel like it's something that you have to be prepared to use, or else like the opportunities that it comes up can come and go very, very quickly.
I
Let's see
think the
what.
only type of mob that Shadowbind can't land successfully 100% of the time on is Gra and some NMs.
Mm,
Oh, really?
Yeah, like for whatever reason, certain Gra don't get Shadowbound. It says uses Shadowbind but misses. I don't know why.
mm. Well,
It's only the
if
old too, from my understanding, not the newer ones.
maybe somebody in the comment section will know why and let us know.
Certain notorious monsters, like if a notorious monster is immune to bind, it will just say Shadowbind misses.
Mm,
Yeah, I think if they're immune to the effect, you know how sometimes you can't like silence something. It's just purely
Yeah.
immune, I think.
That's really the only time it'll miss. Every other time, it's just
Yeah.
gonna land perfectly and it sits there. And it lasts for like over a minute, maybe more. Depends on the monster, obviously.
yeah, and I think there's some gear that augments it. The hands. I think these are the
Same
artifact
buff to get
hands.
Barrage with
Yeah.
Shadowbind. I think it adds 16 seconds,
Hmm.
something like that. So it's under a minute, but it's close to a minute.
Yeah.
That can
Yeah, it's
save
pretty
you a lot
nice.
of hassle.
Hmm.
Actually, no, you get job points, so it's over a minute. I'm right. It's just about 60 seconds.
You're doing great, buddy. So
I'm,
there's
I'm
a
just saying
bunch
this off
of. Hmm?
I'm just saying this off the cuff out of memory. Like I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, no, it's 46 seconds plus the job point stuff. So I'm gonna the next couple like the next several job abilities are things that are not really used as much anymore. So I'm just gonna read down the list, and if you guys use these job abilities for any reason, or just speak up when we get to one that you actually use these days. Unlimited shot. I don't think anybody really uses that much. Unlimited
The
shot
problem with
just.
unlimited shot
Mhm,
is it shares a slot with double shot. So if you use
yeah,
unlimited
Yeah.
shot, you not a double shot,
right.
and it takes the cooldown as well.
Hmm.
And then like
Yeah.
the I don't know, like it- it's so easy. Most of the time if you're playing Ranger, you're using like your Rima ammo, which it doesn't cost anything. So like there's very rare instances where you're really, really worried about maintaining like your that one piece of ammo. Especially with how much you can scavenge back nowadays.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
unlimited shot used to be used a lot more often. Um, you would use it like to pop. I think it was like a patriarch arrow or something, or like the heavy shell for your
Mhm.
culverin.
For yep.
So like ammo that didn't stack. So
Yeah.
I think they should just unpair it with double shot because I could see people using it a lot
Yeah.
more for Bayou bullet or your Hawksbach bullet.
Mhm.
People
Mm,
would weapon scale those when paired with unlimited shot. That'd be great. Unlimited shot I think gives minus enmity as well with its job points, even though, like I said before, there's so many minus enmity things that Ranger has, it's kind of redundant.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So unlimited shot, not a whole lot of use case there.
You don't use
Stealth,
it ever anymore.
flashy shot is another one.
I think flashy and stealth shot are, I don't want to say underrated, but there probably could be a time and place for them.
Yeah. I
It's just
Okay, well,
go
I
ahead.
guess first the question is, does stealth shot go over the enmity cap? Does it actually get let's see. It does not contribute or affect the equipment's minus enmity cap of minus 50.
Yeah, it goes over it.
Okay, so there could be some use cases for that.
Hmm.
For flashy shot, I feel like flashy shot was pretty good at the 75 era because you could actually notice the damage improvement there.
Yeah, it
Uh,
ignores the distance penalties, I think, is the
mhm.
main deal.
But these days I can't say that I've used these in quite a while, and I can't think of off the top of my head a situation where I would like go out of my way to use this.
No,
The
I'm
only thing
saying
that
that
comes to mind is like with it generating more enmity is like maybe if you were using decoy shot and then you use the flash. I don't know if you can use both at the same time where you like flashy and
yes, you
decoy
can stack them.
and then you apply more enmity to your tank. But the fact that you can't really use decoy because it shares the same slot with hover kind of takes that out of the equation.
Ranger's biggest issue in its job abilities is just what you're saying right now. Like all
Yeah.
these different job abilities share the same thing, and they shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's weird. It's weird that Ranger's like kind of one of the only jobs that has so many limitations like that. It's like these two arbitrary things are shared in the same buff slot, so you can't do both of them. You have to pick.
it'd be too overpowered, right? In the 3
Yeah.
fights that Ranger's in, like
Yeah.
what?
Exactly. Yeah. Moving on, another one that's really, really
Well, I just
important,
want to
probably. Oh, go ahead.
before you move on, with flashy and stealth shot, like they were very strong at 75, and the reason I say that there's probably some world in which they're able to be used is you can't drop your recycle merits. Like that's a non-argument.
Hmm.
It's because of the relic hat. Recycle, you need to cap that.
Right.
Um Snapshot, I could see dropping that. It's only 10% snapshot. With gear, you can overcome that if enough gear comes out.
Yeah.
I could easily see going 4 out of 5 snapshot, one stealthy shot. Sorry, 4 out of 5 flashy shot, one stealth shot, or 5 out of 5 flashy shot. It gives 5% range attack per merit. So you can make your weapon skills like easily damage cap.
Mm.
And if you're sub dragoon, it doesn't matter what your enmity is. Like you can generate a lot of
You
enmity and
just
just jump.
shed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's why I say like maybe in the near future that will become a paradigm shift where you no longer need your snapshot merits.
That'd be interesting. I would that'd be cool to kind of bring that back a little bit.
It's just like
Um
you
mhm,
need just a little bit more snapshot gear, I think.
yeah. And there's so much snapshot gear that really shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Probably do it now, frankly.
Yeah. So double shot is a super common one. Probably like Ranger's strongest ability beside, or I guess third after hover shot and velocity.
It's only third because you can't full time it.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
even then,
Whenever I'm playing Ranger, I basically like, I'll put up hover shot. I'll open up with, maybe build TP first, and so I can do like the weapon skill barrage weapon skill combo. But I'll really just I'll almost immediately put up sharp shot, double shot, hover shot, and like velocity shot, just so that those buffs are rolling as often as possible. Double shots just is huge for TP generation and
Oh yeah,
everything.
it's incredibly strong. You want to, I think, with like most end game fights with Ranger, it's a game of keeping double shot up as close to 100% of the time as
Yeah.
possible. Like, you want the Corsair to reset it, or like you want to pop it early, wait out the cooldown, pop it again, then Corsair resets it so you can pop it immediately again. It's like it's kind of like triple shot with Corsair, but in the same sense, I think their cooldowns are a little different. I think triple shot's 5 minutes and doubles 3.
yeah. I feel like double shot is the closest equivalent to like a warrior's war cry where, and by that I mean like you're building the fight around that job ability when your
Mm,
ranger is like the star of the show. So like
yeah.
you're timing your random deals around double shot, you're trying to get those resets because that's how you boost your damage as much as possible was with double
Yeah,
shot.
for sure.
Do
And
you
most of the
use
time with
like
double shot most of the time with double shot, you're gearing your TP set in a way where each single shot gives you TP to weapon skill. That's, like, the best usage of it.
yeah. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask is about what kind of gear you're using for double shot. So that if I remember correctly, that's probably using a lot of like the SU3 gear, which can be kind of pricey, which is another reason Ranger is a little bit more expensive than some other jobs.
The
And
Ashosi?
then
The
yeah,
Ashosi +1?
yep.
I would say Ranger needs less of it than Corsair.
Mhm.
Um, the with Ranger, you want to use the, relic body for the same reason that the Corsair would want to use their, relic hands. Corsair's relic hands upgrade triple shot to quad shot occasionally. Ranger's relic body upgrades double shot to triple shot occasionally.
Mm.
Um,
Mm,
you would want to use the Arcadian Beret. Obviously, full time. It's just the thing with the recycle proc. It gives so much TP that you can't really justify taking it off unless you're doing a crit build.
Right.
So you don't really have the leverage to remove your hat to wear the Ashosi for more double attack proc. But even with that, sorry, I said double attack, double shot. Double shot starts at 40 and increases to 60 with job
mhm.
gifts base, and it's quite easy to hit anywhere from 90 to 100 with enough Ashosi. I think you can get 97 with just hands, legs, feet. I'm spitballing, but I think that's the case.
Uh,
57% for the arc.
hands give 5, legs give 7, feet give 4. So you're at plus 16 there on top of the 60 that you have.
And then 11 from the Arcadian body that you're doing already.
Yeah. So that's
Oh yeah.
plus 27 on top of
Mhm.
60, 87%.
87, okay.
So here's a question,
It's
Dex. Why aren't you taking advantage of this double shot enmity minus off the Empyrean head?
the Empyrean head. The double shot my enmity minus on the Empyrean head does stack with the base minus 50 enmity. It's like a separate
Yeah.
multiplier.
Yeah.
Why don't I do that? Just less DPS. It's way too it's just playing it safe. If
Yeah.
like if a ranger wants to be like really particular, they could make a toggle for it or like toggle. They could make a separate macro for it. So like
Yeah.
they could
Right.
choose to
They,
shoot in that instead of the Arcadian beret.
what
But
Dex
I
means is
find
you could hit your macro to swap into the
Yeah.
equip
Right,
set
right, right.
that changes it so that you're shooting in that set instead of
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, I don't know what toggle he's referring to, but yeah.
Like a mental toggle for
Oh,
yourself, I
right,
think.
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One versus the other. But the point is like those scenarios where you need that extra enmity is I think in the long run, if you shoot in that head versus the other head, you're gonna get a lot less TP per shot, and you might only get a couple, like one more weapon skill before you're hitting enmity cap anyway. I don't think it's so noticeable that
Yeah,
it's
no.
worth time. You're on Ranger to do the DPS. You should be focusing on doing the
Yeah.
DPS.
Yeah, Ranger has so many other options for enmity reduction that I would never really worry too much about that specific option
It's
right
been
there.
brought up
Uh,
for like certain fights where it's like maybe we could make use of this niche thing, and
Yeah,
yeah.
it never really ends up coming up.
And that
yeah, for
it
sure.
becomes a problem with the enmity system in general. Like I think that like in the current era of the game, enmity is so fucked up that like you're gonna cap. No matter how much like minus enmity you have, unless you're wiping your enmity with a super jump or something like that, you're gonna hit cap. So it's
Yeah.
just like Dex said, you want it to be one weapon skill later. Is that worth it to you? You know, like
Yeah. I
was
you said for the current era, and the first thought that jumped into my head was hover shot and annihilator are more than enough to handle the rangers of
Yeah.
this era.
Yeah.
Just a little free run reference, but it's fine. What, what were you gonna say, Dex?
I was talking with Shiraj about Amity, and he knows like the number that is the cap for CE and VE. I think it's like
Mhm.
32,000 or some arbitrary thing, or 30. I think just like to help the game overall, in the game we're at now, where everyone's weapon skilling frequency is so much higher, just increasing the enmity cap so tanks can accumulate faster
Yeah.
or higher numbers of cumulative enmity, because they're hitting volatile enmity cap quite quickly, but cumulative usually takes like 15 minutes for long fights
Yeah.
that are like
Mhm.
50, 40, 30 minutes or higher. Um, it's like you hit that enmity cap ceiling on the tank, and then it just becomes a numbers game as to when the DDs bridge the gap and reach the enmity cap as well. And usually for those long fights, it's not the number don't add up to the point where you're not exceeding that number. I'm explaining this terribly. Um, damage dealers damage dealers will often hit enmity cap before the end of the fight,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tanks get handcuffed in that they've reached the cap way early, and then they're just waiting for the damage dealer to hit the cap as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
The
if the
enmity cap
enmity
seems
cap
too
was
low.
fair, that wouldn't be a problem, right? Like
Mhm.
if you increased it from 30 to 45.
Yeah.
And that's not a ranger specific issue, but in the fights where rangers utilized, it becomes like the main stopgap to whether you clear a fight or not.
Mhm. And
Arabati
that's
being
why
a good example.
and that's why Ranger is so good for those fights, is because it's like the only DD that can keep itself below that threshold without a lot of help from outside buffs. Like
Yeah.
hover shot capping the enmity down without the bard song is super helpful. Whereas like even in our body V25, like the Corsair needs that enmity down song.
I'd say like for Arabati an example, a ranger will often do like 70% of the damage or more, but they'll pull hate usually less often than the Corsair. Like the
Yep.
Corsair will often pull hate first.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So let's see. Here's another job ability that Ranger has that I'm really terrible about using, but you always talk about using it.
Bounty?
Bounty shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bounty
Yeah.
shot. Here's why I
And
like bounty
you,
shot.
yeah, tell me about that.
Bounty shot means you don't have to bring a thief.
Hell yeah.
Fuck thief.
And nobody likes Bring Thief. Oh no, that's so sad. Oh man.
What's
Bounty
Um,
so
Go
bounty
ahead.
shot gives you TH6 when you have like the gloves, right?
Bounty shot is default TH2, and the
Hmm.
gloves increase the base to 6. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. And can it increase past that, or is like one bounty shot? That's it,
So
done.
in the same way that thief starts at 8, and then it can proc to 9 and proc to
Hmm.
10 and proc to 11. Each subsequent bounty shot, which can only be used every minute, but each time you bounty shot, you have a chance to upgrade. So you can
Oh,
go
okay, cool.
7, 8, 9. Very often in fights like Cloud of Darkness where you want Treasure Hunter, and I'm on Ranger. Um, I'll bring a thief with me. They'll just like we'll have a gravity on the Cloud of Darkness. The thief will be meleeing it from behind. It'll open a weapon skill and they'll close the weapon skill. So I'm holding hate and I'm still kiting it.
Yeah,
Um, the thief will start off and get like TH9, TH10, and
yeah.
a lot of the time I'll bounty shot and upgrade it to 11 or 12.
Oh, nice.
hell yeah.
Bounty shot also the other place I use it the most is Peach Power. So like instead of
Yeah.
bringing the Peach Power, you can just bounty shot each one that you end up fighting. So instead of having 2 or 3 Corsairs, you'll have 1 or 2 and then a Ranger, which is doing about the same damage true flights as the Leaden Salutes. You'll also get like incidental fragmentation skill chains, which are really strong. But then you're also tagging TH on the flans for peace of
Yeah.
mind that you're not going to get the drop.
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah,
good
I
point.
think I mean, and that's a higher treasure hunter than like a sub thief can, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you
All
you
jobs other
yeah
than thief and ranger can only go up to 4.
yeah
Mhm.
nice.
So ranger is the second strongest treasure hunter in the game.
So that's your reason to bring Ranger to Dino. Is for
Yeah.
bounty shot on top
Oh,
of
nice.
Every time you
big
fight
true
an
flights and yep.
open it with bounty shot.
There you go. Okay, so we have decoy shot. We kind of talked about that a little bit already. So I'm gonna skip over that. I wanna
Decoy shot,
just
just before you skip it over,
yeah.
it doesn't get used anymore because of hover shot. Say it shares
Mhm.
the same
Yeah,
spot, it
shares the
doesn't get
same
used at
slot.
all. But what it does is, if a player is between you, you the ranger, if a player is between you and the enemy, it will shred, I think, 80% of the enmity that you generate to the other player. So it's kind of like sneak attack
Mhm.
or trick
Yeah.
attack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
It's kind of trick.
yeah, it's very similar to trick attack, but you don't have to be behind the player, I believe. So
Is that
it's
true?
so it says you can target the the PC.
Fair enough.
It's been so long since I've used it. I'm not.
Same.
I thought you had to be behind the character, but then rereading the BG wiki page, it seems like you don't need to be. But yeah. So I wanted to get into a little bit about hovershot because we've mentioned the minus enmity that it does, but the reason, like beyond that it's so ridiculous is you can get ranged accuracy bonuses and ranged damage percentage bonuses up to plus 100 accuracy and plus 100% damage bonus after the 26th
Double damage.
shot. So you get plus 4% for every shot that you stack on hovershot, and it caps at 26, and it's absolutely nuts. This might be
Yeah.
the strongest buff in the game.
Yeah, that's why. Honestly, this is the only reason why ranger gets used still. This new
Hmm.
job ability that was added in 2021. I don't remember.
It
New
was
5 years ago.
it was relatively recently, yeah. I think it was added around the same time Odyssey came out. Maybe
This
a
is
little
like
bit after.
the most recent
Was it
job adjustment, man.
before or after Majesty?
I'm pretty sure it's after.
Yeah, it was after Majesty.
Nice.
I think it's
Mhm.
the most recent job adjustment, which means Ranger will not be getting another job adjustment in this game's life.
Yeah,
Although they
probably
need another
ever.
one. They already do need another one because they need to change shover shot to not be target specific.
Yeah. Absolutely. But hovershot is absolutely busted when you can use it. The problem is you can't use it that often, which is why Ranger
Yeah.
doesn't shine that often.
It's because it's so powerful and Ranger relies on it so much. I think it's one of the main limiting factors to what makes Ranger good or not good in any piece of content. And it's because of exactly what you guys are saying. If you didn't lose stacks every time you switch targets, then Ranger would probably be allowed to do any piece of content. You build up your stacks, and as long as you don't suck, every time you fight something, you're gonna do double damage with your range attacks. That's awesome. But Square Enix felt that that was not okay.
Too strong.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And then the last job ability that we'll discuss is Overkill, which I think it's interesting how Eagle Eye Shot, while it can be cool sometimes, probably one of the weaker SPs, Overkill is probably one of the strongest SPs that's out there.
Yeah.
So Overkill increases range attack speed and activates double and triple shot, and it reduces enmity with job points.
So
That's pretty
every
crazy.
single attack will either be a double or triple shot.
Yep.
I think it's 60% of the time is a double and 30 is triple, something like that.
Yeah, it says distribution is about 2/3 double and 1/3 triple with
Well,
limited
60,
sample
30,
size.
100. So yeah,
Yeah.
my math wrong.
Well, I mean, close enough.
Hmm.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
I don't think you even need snapshot when you have overkill up. It just is the lowest possible delay, and it just does it every time.
here's a question: do you have a different TP set with overkill up?
I don't, but now that you mention it,
You
maybe I
probably
should look into.
could. Yeah, I was just thinking about that because I've never thought about doing that, but it would be kind of the same along the lines of having different TP sets for different levels of flurry, just for the SP instead.
With flurry, it's just different pre-shots, but yeah, like with Flurry, you have the ability to cut out Snapshot and add more Rapid Shot.
Hmm.
And Rapid Shot essentially just is like Rapid Shot's dumb in that it's similar to Conserve MP in that it does a static number, but the amount of Rapid Shot gear you have increases the roll.
Yeah. Cool.
So
You
Rapid Shot
guys.
reduces delay by 50%, and the reduction seems to be pulled by a flat distribution of 2 to 50. So yeah, it just rolls more often.
Mhm. Cool. Since we're talking about rapid shot, there's a couple job traits that I wanted to bring up because we finished the job abilities. But
Yeah,
there's a
sure.
couple job traits that really impact Ranger. And the first one is True Shot. So what do you guys know about True Shot? At least that's the first one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, True Shot's one of Ranger's like I think there's only 2 specific Ranger ones, True Shot and Dead Aim.
Yeah.
Heghmoh, you do the True Shot.
Well, true shot is the distance thing, right? So
Yeah,
you get an increase in attack damage
it's percent
based percent of your damage or attack damage based on how far you are from the mob. And
Mhm.
this has a huge impact on Ranger because it's weapon dependent. So like that's the whole thing with guns. Like a lot of times Rangers end up favoring guns exclusively because you can TP closer, and sometimes that means you can like even melee TP and still get a higher distance correlation bonus than you would um, on a bow. Or similarly, sometimes bow get a little bit of favor because you can TP way outside of AOE range and get the maximum damage correlation if you're just doing range attacks.
Yeah, longbows are around 12 yalms, whereas guns are around 6.5 or 7.
Yeah, so I have the page pulled up. This is one of my favorite things about Ranger, and one of the things that actually makes the job interesting to me is how like the gameplay reflects like the weapon type that you're using, and it kind of like it's one of those like callbacks to making it a little bit more realistic. So throwing
Yeah.
has 3.5 yalms for the maximum true shot. Gun is 6.5. Short bow is 8.6. Crossbow is 10.7, and longbow is 11.8. So a lot of AoEs, especially like our body, are 12 yalm AoEs. So longbow gets the closest to that. So you can capitalize a little
Mhm.
bit on the true shot, but you're still not going to be able to stand like at the perfect range. But you're going to be a lot closer than, say, if you were using a gun. And it's interesting because you don't get correct me if I'm wrong here, Dex, but you don't get the full impact if you're not at the exact range, but you do get a percentage of that the adjustment if you are close. Like it scales by how close or far you are. It doesn't have to be exactly at that 11.8 range or whatever
There's
it
like
is.
it's not a hard number.
Yeah.
It's like a range. There's a
Yeah,
between this amount and this amount of distance, you're gonna hit that number.
aren't
Right.
there a few different like name like chat log reports too, like the your
Correct.
range attack strikes
Right.
true, or there's like one or two of
Yep,
them.
yep. It's like hit squarely, strikes
Yeah.
true, a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure there's a wiki page on that, but I don't have it in front of me right now.
So how do you know how far away you are from the mob?
Well, you could
By
just
that chat
estimate.
log message.
What I do actually is I like layer my fingers over like the little pixels, and I know that
Oh,
like 3 pinky lengths is equal to like
Mm,
1.8 yalms. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, just
see,
use a
I'm a
fucking
real gamer.
add-on.
I'm a real gamer, and just like playing a shooter where you put a little bit of tape with a cross in the
Oh,
middle.
you've got like a rangefinder in Sharpie drawn onto your
There we
monitor.
Yeah,
go. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Absolutely.
you lock your screen on the target, and then you have like that little crosshair on your screen that you drew in
Mhm.
marker. Yeah,
Mhm.
you determine from there. It's actually like my screen in Sharpie has like one of those like graphing grids, but
Mhm.
like extending it angularly, like diagonally up to the corners of the screen. And I have little
Yeah.
markers that say Yalms on them.
Nice.
For sure.
That's cool.
But
Yeah, it's one of
but
those things where they have this soup. It's like it's not even like you have to stand between 8 and 10 yalms. It's like get to 3.4 yalms. You know what I mean? Like it's like a fractional specific number. And I'm like, surely you know that we don't have access to that information, right?
Oh, you're talking about
Yeah, from like a dev perspective.
examining the
You
thing.
know, yeah, like we can't tell what fractional yalm distance we are. So like if to me it's like why didn't the devs just make the true shot range like if you're between 8 and 10 or between 10 and 12? Like they made it this weird fractional specific thing. Which the only way to know what that is by being a filthy cheater.
it's just another example of how Square Enix rewards people for cheating.
Yeah.
Not that we would ever condone that, and I would never tell anyone to download a distance add-on. Um, but if you want to play Ranger, maybe you should. Uh,
Yeah.
the other job trait that I think is really cool, is dead aim.
Mm.
Dead aim,
Getting the crit damage.
yeah, dead aim augments how ranger critical or ranged critical hits happen. It increases the range critical hit damage by a certain percentage, and at 99 you get 45% increase in critical hit damage, which like reinforces your argument of why the prime gun is so cool with the crit rate. It's because of shit like this the ranger can do. So not only if you're standing at the right place, you get like an 8% damage before gear increase from true shot, and then you get a crit with 45% enhanced damage from that. Plus, as we've learned recently in my Discord, we've been talking about crit damage formulas. Ranged attacks benefit way more from critical
Yeah.
hits than melee
According to the
hits.
Dead Aim wiki page, it says ranged attacks have a 1.25 multiplier, which differs from melee crits that add 1 to
Mhm.
PDIF. So it's 1.25 instead of 1. Dead Aim multiplies with the 1.25. So at tier 6 trait, it becomes 1.25 times 1.45 for a total of 1.8125. I know this is making people's eyes gloss over. Critical
Well,
hit damage adds to dead aim. For
mm,
example, 20% critical hit damage would be 1.25 times 1.65 for a total of 2.065 damage multiplication. This also interacts with the other forms of damage multiplication, such as AM3, or in Prime Weapons case like ERP, it would just be the passive damage multiplier. So sometimes with Prime Weapons, you get a 2 or 3x damage multiplier on your range attacks.
yeah.
That's a lot.
To put that in
Basically,
Lots of
like
we're
numbers.
the
like a
layman
4.
terms, it would be like you're at the very least you're doubling your damage. And
Yeah.
Actually, a
then
lot more than that.
yeah, yeah.
So on Ranger, with ERP, um, sometimes I'll do like a ranged attack and hit 2k, and then I'll ranged attack and crit and do like 28k.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like 5x or higher.
And then you put the prime stuff on top of that, or Empyrean stuff on top of that. And that's why like using a prime or Empyrean was
Where it's
so
tripling the damage.
popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, for our body that was so popular, and now for V25s, when you are hitting that enmity cap, it's not popular anymore because you're doing so much damage that you're killing yourself essentially. Um, and that's overall not beneficial to the group. But when you don't have to worry about that factor, it's a really cool stuff, or some really
I know
cool
I
thing to
said
do.
a while back that Ranger always TPs in the Arcadian Beret for the TP boost that Recycle gives you. Basically, Ranger can hit like 95 plus Recycle, so they're almost always keeping their bullet, and
Yeah.
in turn, that means that they're always triggering that hat, which gives a TP bonus when you trigger Recycle.
Hmm.
I did say that there's one exception in that you would take that hat off and TP in something else when you were doing a crit build. And the only piece in the game that augments dead aim is the Mega Nada visor.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's the one you would use. It gives an additional 12% crit hit damage.
Yeah, and it's super strong for that build specifically. I would use
That
that for
buffs up
like a
dead
like an
aim.
AM3 build, and yeah.
I think you
Um
get 857 dead aim by default with that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
The point is,
So
like, when you're range attacking with like the right build, for your TP set with the right gun, whether it be or bow, whether it be Empyrean or Prime, you can
hmm,
start seeing like weapon skill numbers in your ranged attacks, and it's really crazy.
Yeah. And that's where like Ranger really is really fun to play and satisfying because like you're doing this really silly damage with just auto attacks, essentially.
Especially when you have double shot or overkill up, and it's just like
Hmm.
20k,
yeah.
20k, 20k, and then other people are like, I'm weapon skilling and doing 30k.
Yeah. And all of those things again because barrage is treated as combined auto attacks, all of those things can apply to a barrage, and that's
Yeah,
when you
for
see
each
this
hit.
super silly dumb barrage damage that's breaking the damage cap.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So now that we've discussed a little bit of the abilities, the traits, and the gear, um, and by gear we discussed like the Meganada stuff. We discussed the what's the SE3 called again?
Oh,
I can't.
Shosti.
Oshosi, there we go. The JSC all has its places. Just the normal stuff that you would want to chase as like a new ranger. What about the Rimas? I feel like in a lot of ways, Ranger has kind of a similar position as Bard, where you kind of want all of these different Rimas if you want to be like a well balanced contributor as a Ranger. So where would you
There's
guys
like,
start in the Rima category?
I think the Ionic is like the best place to start.
And let me rewind real quick. Is there any weapons that you would like if you were a new ranger and Rimas were like a little bit intimidating? Are there any other weapons that you would recommend, or would you just say go play another job until you're able to make a Rima for ranger?
Corsair can get by with non-Rima guns for
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
because it's primarily doing magic weapon skills. Like you can tell someone on Corsair to get a Doomsday augmented or get uh I'm drawing a blank on the gun, the one from Warder of Courage.
Molybdosis.
Yeah, Molybdosis. You can tell a Corsair to do that and their lead-ins will still do great damage.
Yeah.
But if Corsair were to then try to shoot physical weapon skills like Last Stand, they would
Mm,
do
Yeah.
poopy damage. So they
yeah.
need a Rima for those physical weapon skills. Ranger is kind of the same. If you're just doing uh, True Flight or Wildfire, you can get by with weaker options or non-Rima options. But when you ever want to do physical weapon skills, I think you kind of have to make a Rima.
Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
there's like somebody said like the TP bonus. Um the TP bonus bow and then just doing physical like you're
Like
niggling
you could do
savage
savage
blades.
blades,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
I
It's like
was
something you could do
when
with.
I was mastering my ranger, that's what I did. I used Snagling, Kraken Club, and I self skill chained with bow weapon skills and Savage Blade, but I needed a lot of accuracy buffs in order to hit the bow weapon skills and make the skill chains work. But even without the skill chaining factor, you can still do fatty Savage Blades. It's typically the go-to melee method is using the TP bonus bow with the Hawk's bow arrow for the 20% weapon skill damage.
Yeah. Before we fully get into the Rima conversation, just to like end cap the traits, I'd say
Hmm.
Ranger is one of the unique jobs in terms of a DPS output in that it has the highest accuracy bonus trait. It has conserve TP and damage limit.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like designed
Yeah.
to do these like high damage weapon skills and
Hmm.
be accurate.
And that's also
Um,
why the Kraken Club is so popular for it, is because of the
that's what I was about
accuracy
to say.
bonuses. Yeah.
So those combinations that it has by default for its range attacks actually pair extremely perfectly with a Kraken Club build, Savage Blading. And then to augment your Savage Blade, you get a TP bonus bow and the 20% weapon skill damage arrow. As long as you don't shoot it, you're just gonna be ripping.
Which I've been doing. I've
Oh,
done
I've done that
countless times.
plenty of
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
and it
Oh
always
man.
hurts.
Wow. I've never done that.
I'm in
Liar.
in
I
regard
haven't.
to like a Rima though, like I think the Aeonic's a good place to start. Like getting the Aeonic is definitely a good place to start. But I would also even say like Annihilator can take you pretty far and is also useful in a lot of a lot of
No, you're
content.
absolutely right,
Yeah.
and that's I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I think your best weapon to start with is absolutely Fomalhaut or, I guess you could Fail Not, but I think Fomalhaut's the better
Yeah.
choice too.
Fomalhaut's definitely going to be a lot more universal than Fail Not is.
Mhm.
And I think you can apply it to a lot more places. Like you're gonna have your last stand, you're gonna have an okay true flight option. You can hotshot whatever with it and be perfectly fine. I think Fomal's a really strong option.
Mhm.
But honestly, like, the relic gun is one of the best relics in the game. Like, I think Aegis is far
Yep.
and ahead the best relic in the game. I think G-Horn is probably the second best, even though once you go the distance and make the prime, it kind of gets replaced. But I think the third best and the best weapon from the relics is probably the gun.
Yeah.
The
True.
second's
Yeah.
strong.
If I were a newer player that didn't have a group to do an Ionic, I would do Annihilator first. And even if I did
Absolutely.
have a group to do an Ionic and it was like somewhere down the line, I would still consider doing Annihilator first. It's a super strong gun, and you're gonna be using it a lot, a lot. I think when you mentioned Aegis, I like using Annihilator compared to Aegis because they do they're very similar where you don't need Annihilator for a lot of fights, just like you don't need Aegis for a lot of fights,
Right.
but you're going to need it for very, very specific fights for specific reasons because it does something no other weapon does.
Yeah, so if you're a ranger and you have every Rima in the game, you will still use your Annihilator, and
Yeah.
it comes up often.
Yeah.
Um, we haven't mentioned this, but every Rima weapon for ranger has a unique ammo that you can dispense every hour, and they all do like slightly niche things. Like Empyrean ammo has the most accuracy,
Mhm.
Relic ammo has the most attack, Aeonic ammo has the most base damage, if we're not including the Prime. And then the Primes have like base stat unique things, but they're also singleton bullets, so you can't really spam them.
Right. Still
Ranger
such a
can
weird decision
utilize
to
that
me,
more
but
than core, though.
Yeah.
I don't
the
think
Well,
whole
it's
single
unreasonable.
use unstackable prime ammo.
I wish that wasn't the case, but for Ranger, it's not that bad. So I say that because, like, if you have a Prime bullet, you can shoot it. You can like have it only shoot in your weapon skill set, so you can
yeah.
terminus in the body bullet
Yep.
every
Yeah.
time. And
That's what I do with the Prime Bow. Yeah.
your recycle should trigger a good amount of the time, and when it doesn't, and you actually shoot the bullet, you can then scavenge it back.
You scavenge it back. Yeah.
We had skipped over
Yeah.
scavenge. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Scavenge has a lot of use case except for if you have a Prime these days. I guess you can get a couple of different arrows. Do you
I mean, I think
have
it's just
other?
like it's like a what like a more so to me, I think scavenge is just like a hygiene ability. Like you should use it. It doesn't hurt, like especially if you forgot to stockpile ammo. You're going
Yeah.
to a fight and you might run out. You only have 100 shots because that's
Hmm.
what you get out of your thing for the hour. Like it's just nice to like pop it before the fight ends and get a little bit of a return and have a little bit of a buffer, but it's not like there's no min max way to use scavenge. You know, like
All I'm gonna say is
it's just
like
there.
a real ranger is gonna stay up 12 hours before a fight, popping
Yeah, and
the
stockpiling in
belts
advance.
every
True, true, true,
hour to
true.
make sure they have 12 stacks of chrono bullets,
That is true.
stuff like that. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. So I think you brought up the bullets, and since we're on the topic of guns right now, before we get too much into the bows, I would say Chrono Bullet is probably the most popular bullet used by
Yeah.
Ranger, especially well for physical, definitely, and that puts another like tick in the category for Fomalhaut being a really strong starting Rima.
Yeah, I think the Chrono Bullet is just the middle ground. It's not the highest accuracy, it's not the highest attack, but it has the highest base damage.
Hmm.
So it's fine to TP in, and it's probably the best to weapon skill in. So
Mm.
there's no wrong by having it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about like the what's special about Annihilator because
Oh yeah,
we kind of hinted about
Enmity
like,
boy.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Just the
super
negative
strong.
enmity, right?
It's
Well, it
so
is the negative
un-
enmity. Go ahead, Dex.
yeah, it's not so much like you might be focusing on Annihilator when it does. Sorry, there's so many things in my head. When you do Coronach,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Coronach is
Coronach
the big
has
thing.
a aftermath on the gun that gives minus enmity, but it also gives 10% ranged attack, which is very
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Which is like 10% is a lot of like
yeah.
there's what other buffs give that much range attack?
Velocity
Well,
shot. That's it.
conjunction
Yeah.
velocity
Yeah, yeah.
with crits. Even with Annihilator, I know like we talked about Empyrean and Prime weapons doing fat white hits. Even with Annihilator, I've broken damage cap of Barrage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
I honestly think Annihilator. I don't have a prime gun, but Annihilator is kind of like my default gun when I'm playing Ranger. I use it a lot more than I use Fomalhaut. That's for sure.
On Ranger, I think that's reasonable. It's really strong.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to say that with Annihilator, a lot of people focus on Aftermath, enmity minus 25, but that's not really why Annihilator is the strongest tool for not generating hate.
Right.
Annihilator is the strongest tool for not generating hate because Coronach has static enmity. It's one of the most unique weapons.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know
It's
that.
So
yeah, 80 cumulative and 200 volatile enmity.
no matter
And I
what,
just
damage.
I just want to point out like in reference, there's been an argument lately that I've seen going around for the Yoichi, because of the same reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Jishnu or not Jishnu's, sorry, what's the
Namasero.
Namasero has
Namasero.
also has static enmity, but
But
Coronach
it's
has
simple.
half of the enmity as Jishnu's and does more damage and
Oh, interesting.
boosts your attack so much more.
But
Like
Jishnu's is a
Namas.
bow,
Namas,
or
yeah.
yeah, sorry. Namasera is a bow weapon skill, and you look cooler using
It
a bow.
looks cooler.
Yeah,
Really good points. Really good points, Heghmoh.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know, like
Go on.
for you, I've heard this argument recently, like, oh, on Arabati, you should use Yoichi instead of Annihilator because you're at the right distance to get true shot
Mhm.
damage. So like you're doing
Yeah.
8% more damage,
Yeah.
Compared to the
but you're
10% attack
doing
you're getting.
10% more damage with Annihilator because of the
Ah, yeah, yeah. True.
Yeah.
and
True,
you're
true, true.
dealing half as much enmity.
Yeah.
For
I've
whatever reason, Coronach deals 240 volatile and 80 cumulative, but Namas does 480 volatile and 160 cumulative. So it's
yeah.
literally half.
Yeah, and Coronach just hits harder. Like if you any ranger that's done that fight and seen like
Yeah.
somebody that does Namas arrows will know that Coronach on average is hitting 5 to 10k harder than a Namas arrow while generating less enmity. It's absolutely insane.
When
Yeah,
Coronach, go ahead.
I made Yoichi a while ago just because I wanted to. Like, I think I was playing Samurai at the time too, and I was like, man, it'd be cool if I was like I could have a like bust out my bow on Samurai for funsies, and that's basically the only reason I made it.
I think Yoichi
I
is
I
the most
do regret
successful
it,
samurai weapon.
but relics are also not super expensive to make, so
No, they're not. No. But I do
I would
think, to your point, Yoichi is like exclusively a samurai Rima. It's not
mm,
really a ranger Rima.
I would never say like don't make a Rima if you want to do it. Like if you have something in mind where you want to play around with it, and I mean you can kill Arabati with Yoichi. It's been proven. It's done. Like if that's how you want to play the game, then by all
yeah.
means go for it. But the cool thing about Annihilator is that it looks cooler. It's a gun and it does more damage. It just does the job better, which was
Yeah,
I
Heghmoh
and
going like, Yoichi's cool because like
like
you use the bow and it looks cooler, and then Mith
Yeah.
is like, yeah, use the gun because it looks cooler.
well, so I've always been a really big bow fan. Like I love
Yeah.
the old 75 aesthetic. That's why I made the prime bows because I wanted a bow that actually did
Mhm.
damage. But Annihilator like has this special place in my heart as like one of my very first Rimas. And like I probably the first one I did for Ranger. And it's just such a cool, like unique weapon that performs a function that nothing else does and still
Yeah.
does really, really good damage.
Fair enough.
It's worth
Fair
saying
enough.
that Yoichi's aftermath, whereas Annihilator's is 10% attack and 25 minus enmity, and we've already talked to death about how that minus enmity means nothing for Ranger. So it's just 10% attack. But Yoichi's aftermath is like 20 ranged accuracy or 30 ranged accuracy and 5 snapshot. So that's even less impactful. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
Now, if Yoichi gave 30% ranged accuracy or even 10%,
30% accuracy would be nuts.
Just
Holy
pop a
shit.
sharp shot, never
it was
missing.
10%, right? 10% accuracy. That would be something to talk about.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, then you could use it for Chaos and Bahamut.
Yeah, do it for Wing of War.
Mm-hmm.
Wing of War
Ironically,
Yoichi build
like,
is maybe the new meta. I think we just play
ironically,
it.
like accuracy is a challenge for Wing of War, but like more so for the Corsair and not for the Ranger.
Well, they got to
Yeah.
get the new Limbus gear with 72 accuracy on HPs.
True.
Listen,
Okay,
I'm,
before
like,
we get
worried
too
about
deep, before we get too deep into the bows,
Before we spoil
I couldn't
anything and
I
leak
couldn't
anything.
help I couldn't help talking shit about Yuichi because that like has been a recent topic of conversation. Yuichi versus Kornok, and that conversation pissed me off. So I had to bring it up. But
going.
so other ranged guns or marksmanship weapons for the Rimas, we have Gastrophetes and Armageddon. Since we talked about primes and relics and stuff, let's go ahead and talk about the Empyrean first, because it's probably a little bit closer to the other two that we discussed.
Oh, and the SU5. We have to talk about SU5.
We're not going to talk about the
Don't forget
SU5.
So
Dex,
it's very
you have
sad,
an
right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you have an Armageddon, don't you?
Absolutely.
Do you like it? Do you play it? Do you use it for Ranger?
Armageddon is super satisfying. It's super cool. But since getting the Prime, I no longer use it unless I'm doing Wildfire Span.
Yeah.
Okay. What were you using it for pre-Prime?
Just doing white hit damage for fun.
Okay.
It's because white hit damage is very satisfying.
Mhm.
I would do it versus the Omen boss. That does range, or that you have to stay far away to not get nullificated.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It was very popular to use on V20 or body and below, and it was really strong for that. But since
V25, you full hate.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much HP to not cap hate with the regen and everything, so it's been kind of phased out for that.
Yeah, I didn't really get the chance to enjoy that era of Ranger and Aerobody.
Yeah, because I was too
it's the
busy
same,
using Gandiva in your group.
Gandiva,
Yeah.
for fights like that, I think outperforms Armageddon because of the distance. If you're riding just white hit,
Yeah.
but the weapon skill from Gandiva is poopy.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I think that's like Wildfire is actually pretty strong and super viable for things where you can take advantage of the elemental damage, right? Whereas you don't really get that.
Skills, but you're right.
Yeah. You don't really get that from Gandiva. But I think like all the Empyreans kind of it's the same thing with like Ukon. You know, like the triple damage on Ukon used to be super crazy, super novelty, and worth having kind of a mediocre weapon skill for. But now like the primes, if you have access to a prime, you're getting most of the same benefit, and you have a really good weapon skill, and you have a unique like passive buff, attached to it too. So it's just like
the primes are
lost a lot of potency.
Empyrean +1s
On
in
a
80 or 90% of the case.
Quick side tangent. Heghmoh, did you see the guy in that Reddit comment thread that said Nagling's better than Lafria today?
No.
Was that guy named Sharad?
No, I don't know.
I
who
probably
it
read
was.
it and just immediately ignored it. But
it was it was in the comments of the Reddit thread.
Oh, that one that I sent the screenshot where I said those guys. Yeah.
And I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Dex, when would you recommend Ranger pick up Armageddon, and for what use?
I would recommend Ranger pick up Armageddon when they've decided that they're like a career Ranger, and they already have Annihilator, and they already have Fomalhaut, and arguably that they already have the Prime, and they're just getting the bullet for 15 more accuracy.
Yeah.
So not even many uses to actually use the gun anymore. You're just purely just for the bullet. You'd recommend getting it.
Like there are some scenarios where you would want a Wildfire, I guess. Like more often than not, if your target is weak to wildfire, like an undead, you'll
Yeah.
probably do just as well with hotshot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
There are
that's right.
there are
Yeah.
some scenarios where, you know, you could just spam wildfire. I think Zerde, you just spam
Yep.
wildfire,
Zerdy.
But you could just do True Flight and
but you
do
could just do true
probably
flight.
more. Yeah.
So in most scenarios,
Or
like
Savage Blade. Still do cap damage.
Shut the fuck
in
up,
most
Heghmoh.
scenarios, target now is probably the last Rima I would make on a ranger.
Yeah.
Mm.
This is one
Okay.
of the very few that I don't have for my ranger. And I don't really see a point in picking it up. Maybe if I get really like deep into the weeds with ranger again at some point. But I'm not playing it very seriously these days.
It's
So
very much more so for the bullet than for the gun itself.
Yeah.
yeah, for
I
sure.
I actually not Annihilator, but I started Gandiva like years ago. And it's like not it's still in like the whatever VNM, whatever the roaming NMs are, not even in the Abyssia stage. And it's just I think I might either throw it away or never finish it. Cause like I don't know when I would ever use it. But
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to Gandiva a little bit later, but it has a
yeah.
special place in my heart. Um
Mhm.
but the last marksmanship, unless I'm missing something, Rima that we can discuss is Gastrophides. And
Mhm.
Gastrophides is really, really cool because it also does something pretty unique. And I'll be honest, when I'm using K Club Ranger, I want to be using Gastrophides more than I want to be using Savage Blade
Mm.
personally, because I think it's more fun to
Yep.
blast super cool true flights. That doesn't mean it's necessarily better a lot of the
Yeah.
time. I just like it more.
Astrophides is
Gastra
how Ranger cosplays as a Corsair.
Hey,
uh,
that's fucking
Ga-
rude.
Gastra's really cool. And like it's one is well, aside from the SU5, it's the only like major crossbow
It's the
for
only one.
Ranger. Yeah,
Spoilers.
yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's the only crossbow. And you know, it has that elemental, you know, like again, like I made a ranger, like I made multiple rangers over the years and made Gastrofati. It's one of the only mythics that I've ever made just because
Multiple times.
it's so cool. And there was a period of time where like it was what was facilitating dynamis clears for my alliance. You know, like our link shell was clearing because we were setting up an entire party around buffing True Flight and Gastro Rangers. So it had its day. I think that it's probably fallen off a little bit. It's not quite as impactful as it used to be, but um, it's a fun one. It's definitely a fun one.
When you need to do magic damage, it is the go-to. There is no exception. As I was saying before, you know, Armageddon does better wildfire damage, but wildfire it doesn't do big damage. It doesn't scale with TP. You just go at 1k every time.
Mm,
Yeah.
But Gastrofades with True Flight is fat. It's basically lead and salute, but light.
Mhm.
yeah,
Due to the way the game is, there's more options to boost dark damage than light damage. So
yeah.
lead and
Especially when you're in something like Dynamis, like that's the core place where you
lead and
see
salute
those
tends to have a leg up
magic
on
damage because
True Flight.
you're in dark weather
It's the
in
dark weather
Dynamis. Yeah,
paired with the hairpin and the ring, whereas
yeah,
most people aren't going to sacrifice their dueling ring or with whatever the ring is for for a light damage ring. Most people won't do that. But overall, it's very comparable to lead and salute. It does fat damage.
Mhm.
Um, it's unfortunate that even though it's like the only crossbow that doesn't bring with it anything unique. Back in the day at 75, crossbow
oh yeah.
had plenty of ammo, like
Bring back
acid
bolts.
bolts, acid bolts to do defense down,
Yeah,
bloody bolts to keep your HP up, holy bolts to do more magic damage. There was a lot of like variety in the gameplay from crossbow, and at 75, the Othenis' bow was very powerful and comparable to any gun like Hellfire. But now, the fact that it's a crossbow means nothing. It just
yeah.
oh, it's
I
a
went
crossbow.
I went through I went through a phase like back in that Dynamis era. Like me and another ranger would like stock up on holy bolts and we'd get acid bolts and stuff. And then this was like 10 years ago probably. But, then we realized we're like, oh, the acid bolt defense down doesn't actually stack with anything we're doing. So literally pointless. I think they should bring back the bolts. I would love to see bolts again.
I would love
Counter.
utility bolt the resurgence, whether they
Mhm.
be defense down or other things. Like it'd be great. It would bring more reason to make a Gastrophates for people who haven't already, and it would
Mhm.
bring more reason to make Sharanga.
Yeah. When the whole
Mm.
augment on Shranga is like some sort of ammo multiplier, right?
It's like 250% ammo bonus
Yeah.
damage, similar to the
Yeah.
way that Crocea Moors increases end spell damage or
Yeah.
magic damage, magic weapon skill. It's very similar. So I think the premise of Sharanga is that you're going to use the SU bolts, which I believe do light damage as well. Let me check.
Yeah. You're doing you want to become like a Crocea Moore's meta red mage from a few years ago. But you're doing range attacks, but I don't think it translates quite as well.
The
Counter.
Scouts bolt from Sharanga do recycle 20 and light damage, so they're holy bolts.
So counter offer to your guys' bold conversation, and something that I really think you're both overlooking is Gastrophides gets this fat double or triple damage to its super low damage bolts with Aftermath. I'm just kidding. It's really bad.
I think
But
the thing that you're overlooking is that gastra is like gastrointestinal. It's like belly,
oh
and then
right. Belly bow.
feedes sounds like feedes.
I've got
So
feet,
you got
Belly
like belly
feet.
feet,
Belly
which is
feet.
pretty cool.
belly
Wow,
feet.
I just learned
That's like
something new.
playing tummy sticks. Do you want to play tummy sticks?
I really like Gastrophides. It can do some cool stuff in Limbus because it can do like fat damage if you're really buffed to the teeth with it. I stopped using it in Limbus because there's like while it does fat damage, you can also equally get resisted just as often by a lot of
Yeah.
different families. But
That's the problem
I
with
think
magic
it's
weapon skills in general. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's a really fun weapon to have that like a career ranger should look for. But you like you were saying earlier, the days of it being king and Dyna Divergence have kind of tapered off. So if you're
Well,
not
yeah.
like really serious about the job, I probably wouldn't go out of my way to make it.
I would say again, that's again like one of the issues with Ranger right now is that
Mhm.
we've all power crept so much. Like when Ranger was the black mage of physical damage dealing, like you have the safety of range, you're putting out fat big damage, and you're the only person that can put cap damage out outside of like maybe a super buff Corsair. So like you're just so much stronger. But now all the melee DPS have power crept up to spamming cap damage weapon skills faster. So like
Yeah.
it doesn't have the edge that it used to have.
In chat, Flying Spaceships 6969XXX says, um, I think Thief should get a Rima crossbow. And I'm kind
Maybe
of down
don't.
with that.
I'd be
I
okay
think
with
there
that.
should be
Yeah.
more cross job. I think that Spalarisos should be opened up to
Warrior.
Warrior, and I think that
I think Phonaria should be on Beast.
Samurai should be on Panaka.
Yep. Phonaria should be on Beast. I've said this before. I think the next line of Rima, if they ever make one, should be based on the mythic weapons. Like make
Hell
them
yeah.
black mythic weapons or whatever.
Absolutely.
Oh, just start color swapping every single weapon line
Well, I
until
mean,
we
they're not
get
going to
back
add
to,
into the game, right?
and then we get back to primes
Yeah.
and we make them white.
I don't I don't care that they're like reusing assets and just recoloring them. That's fine with me, but like if they're gonna do it, take that opportunity to like add more utility or variety, right?
Yeah.
I
So
would just
if they
ask
were
that they recolor the weapon skills this time. That's my only.
rude,
That's the only thing that I
Oh
would like
yeah.
to. Just no, like don't even redo them. Just make them a different color. That way,
yeah.
like it doesn't look like I'm doing Koronok or whatever.
Mm.
If they were to do what I'm saying and like make black mythics as the next Rima, that would be so cool to have a good crossbow that does something unique and to have thief on it.
Yeah. Would be cool.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I agree.
The only problem with like the original mythics were very much so. We talked about this before, like when we did the mythic tier list.
Or
They're
job
very
aug-
job centric. So like you can't put thief on Gastrophides because its whole thing is how it affects barrage and it
You
has true
can.
flight. Yeah.
You can. It's just the things that would be unique about it would have to be very range centric.
Yeah.
The way it augments ranging, and then Thief would just have to lean into that. It couldn't be like job specific abilities. That's the problem.
Gastrophides, or no, yeah, the new mythic for thief, whatever you call that new weapon chain. Would it be cool if he was like the exclusive thing where you could sneak attack ranged attacks? That'd be dope.
On belly toes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Are
Um
there any other
while we're still
marksmanship
talking about
remas that I missed?
while we're still talking about crossbows, I just want to like double dip into the tiny brief moment I talked about Sharanga, the SV5. Sharanga's poopy. It's one of
Mhm.
the worst SV5s in the game.
Yeah, it just
Um
doesn't really have a use case that really makes sense.
it doesn't really do anything.
Right.
Uh,
It's cute.
Ranger, any other Ranger ultimate weapons that are marksmanship based? We talked about Fomalhaut. We talked about Annihilator. We talked about,
I think that
yeah, I
we
think we
covered
got
all
them.
bases. We didn't talk about ERP, but we kind of
Yeah.
did. I think ERP's main like draw on the prime gun is its crit damage, or sorry, crit rate on base stat on the gun itself. As we've talked about, shooting on Ranger just has such a great crit like marriage. You do so much great crit damage paired with damage boost, paired with double damage proc or triple damage proc. It just is peanut butter and jelly, man. It goes well
Mm.
together. Myth, you
Cool.
got your dog, buddy?
We lost him.
I think he's dogging it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they're being the
Somebody
worst right
said,
now. Holy shit. Yeah, Erp is just strong. It just does like good damage. Like I don't know what else there is to it really.
yeah,
So that's all the
POP.
marksmanship.
Yeah, so let's move on to bows. I guess
Do we have to?
well, I guess we can skip over Yoichi since we already kind of talked about
We
that.
kind of
It's
talked
just
Yoichi.
like it's Annihilator -5.
Yoichi's
Yeah.
pretty much yes.
Let's go
It does look cool,
into
and Samurai can use it, so we gotta give it some credit for that.
Failnaught we talked about briefly. It's the Fummelhot
yeah.
comparison. It's Aeonic.
Yeah, I like
So I've heard
Failnaught.
some pro Failnaught talk recently. I always remember back in the day, people were like, "There's no reason to make Failnaught except for the arrow." How does it like shine?
Super
TP bonus.
niche situations. But yeah, the TP
TP
bonus.
bonus, which makes it great for hybrid weapon skills. So hotshot.
Mhm.
Or not hotshot, flaming arrow.
Flaming arrow.
Yeah.
And
Flaming
as a
Arrow is really
complete
good.
aside, there was a brief period where flaming arrow's formula was bugged, and you could like overcap damage or something. Does anybody remember that?
I don't.
Yeah, I think Hotshot and Flaming Arrow were both like had their formulas
Actually,
messed
I
up,
think
and you
I
could
think I
do
do vaguely
over
remember that, but I never
100K
did it.
damage with them. My cat's discovered that the top of my PC is warm, and he will not stop jumping up on top of it.
Oh, because he's cold. Damn,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Well, cats love warm stuff. So the reason, like besides just hybrids, I really like Failnaught in super low buff situations. Because if you're not familiar with like Detonator, with a gun which ignores a certain amount of defense, Fail or Archery has a very similar weapon skill with what is it, Imperial Arrow, if I remember right.
Imperial arrow, yeah, detonator.
And the TP bonus plus like the ability to get to like true. Sorry, my dog is squeaking his toy and it's being really annoying right now.
I like it.
You can get your distance correlation correct. You can get the ignore defense, and you can get the TP bonus all going at the same time. So I used it a lot for Odyssey RP farming when you didn't have the option to like have strong buffs, but you still needed like somebody doing some piercing damage and like not taking a lot of damage. It has some cool use case scenarios like that.
You know, it's funny. I want to kind of redact what I said earlier.
Okay.
What's that?
Said that outside of doing like magic damage, like how core can use like molybdosis to do true flight, um, ranger could do the same thing. But if you're doing physical damage, you want a Rima. I think there is an exception to that rule. Um, the Tenzenbo, Hangaku no Yumi,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
that gives
1000
1k
TP
TP bonus,
bonus.
and you
Yeah.
can just spam Imperial arrows at 1k and do fat damage.
Yep.
It's not better than a Rima, but for Imperial arrow specifically, that's pretty powerful, and it will like be a very good introduction to Ranger.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's actually what I did when I made Ranger on this character. Is that was the first bow I picked up before I did Gastra, just to do Dynamis and stuff.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But that about covers it. It's mostly for the arrows. That's the biggest reason most people will get them. Because chrono
Mhm.
arrows, again, just like the bullets, are very, very strong, high damage. Yeah. Moving on, we can get into Gandiva, which is my.
You love it so much. If you
I
love it so much,
do.
why
So I made one. I did marry it. This is the this is the only Empyrean that I made for Ranger. I don't have a Armageddon, and I stand by that decision.
Okay.
Um, and you know, it was really fun until our Body V25 came out, and then it's been sitting in
Yeah.
my Mog sack collecting dust.
The 2 times I've ever seen Gandiva like really shine and be cool as shit, because you don't often get to use the weapon skill and make it good. It's kind of like crit based.
Right.
The 2 times were like our body V20 when I watched you do damage. And the Lamia ambuscade, right? The one that's
Yeah.
on right. If you don't want to do the mechanic, and in the previous years, the mechanic was a lot tighter and more difficult to do. They've nerfed it. But if you don't want to do the mechanic where you have to turn around and avoid getting charmed or petrified or whatever, you can just have rangers sit far away and go boom. And at big distance, Gandiva kind of shines at that, having more distance correlation done. You can do
Yeah.
the true shot damage.
Yeah. It was really fun for the Iron Giant ambuscade before they nerfed that. My understanding, I didn't do it the last time it came around, but my understanding is that it changed. And it's not a viable method anymore. But I don't know. It was really fun for a little while. I haven't used it in a very long time. I don't have any reason that I would recommend making it for anybody, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it had like there was a time where people in Link Shell, like 2 or 3 people made it at the same time, and they were like, it was mostly a meme, like, oh my god, look, we'll do all this crazy auto attack damage and it's sort of not that what you're doing is a meme myth, but like sort of like the warrior white damage thing. Like, I'll just be doing 30k crits with my Gandiva constantly,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like, yeah, it's cool for a little bit, but then you realize that it doesn't really keep up in practice.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean there's always stuff like that. But I mean if the game is for nothing else, it's for making memes. You know what I mean? Just have fun.
Honestly, if we want to talk about cool points, Jishnu's Radiance is probably the coolest bow weapon skill.
Oh dude, it's so cool. It's so cool
Is that
that
the one
I've
where you
thought
fire off
about,
into the air?
yeah, you shoot your
Yeah.
electric lightning bolts into the air and
I
then they
send
rain
them off to
down.
heaven, and Zeus grabs it and throws it back down and zaps
Yeah.
everything. So, like, my
It's
biggest critique with it is aesthetically, it should be an AoE. It should be an AoE centered on the target.
Agreed. It's so cool looking that I've thought about learning how to swap DATs just to like see that weapon skill more often.
What?
But
What?
DAT swaps. But anyway,
Cheating?
I don't know how to do that though. That's the problem. Is I'm too stupid.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Bows. We did the Relic, we did the Aeonic, we did the Empyrean. Ranger only has one mythic. There is no bow.
No mythic bow.
So Prime.
So just the prime.
Sarv, boom, big damage. The thing that's
Pinaka.
between marksmanship and archery, marksmanship is agility only, except in the case of I think both the Relic and the Prime are agility and dex. However, with marksmanship, except for the exception of Jishnu's, everything is strength and agility, not just agility. So you get like a lot better like stat distribution on your weapon skills because you can boost your weapon skill damage with strength a lot easier. That leans really well for Sarv. I think your damage on your weapon skills with the prime bow should generally be higher than the
Yeah.
terminuses you do with the prime gun.
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
the prime bow is pretty strong.
Yeah,
Prime
I
bow's
like
really
it.
strong. I think that like its advantage also becomes a disadvantage though, in that, you know, if you're talking about distance correlation, you have to be further away to maximize it. So like
Yep.
it's really for a fewer very specific fights. But I mean, at the same time, like I think that I've been tempted every single time I get to the point where I can make a new prime stage 4. I'm like so tempted to make Panaka just because it's finally a good bow weapon skill. Like finally we have a bow weapon skill that's
Yeah.
just really strong.
It hits like a truck, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It
Last
is
month during the
nice to have.
what do you call it? The Soul Flare ambuscade, and this month during the Lamia ambuscade, I've used it. It's nice. I've compared both because I have the stage 5 Panaka and the stage 5 Erp. They're very similar.
Yeah.
The main difference being that Panaka has store TP 10 and Erp has crit 15.
Yeah.
That's
Which
a
that
big
crit,
deal. Like
like you
that
said,
crit's a big thing.
yeah,
That's
that plays a huge effect
unfortunately,
in stuff like eagle eye shot. Like I've seen some crazy herb eagle eye shots.
yeah. Unfortunately, like having used both, um, I believe Erp gets the edge because of the crit, and that's the only reason.
Yeah.
You just much more often see those incredible white hits that do like weapon skill damage than you do with Panaka. Even though you're doing a little bit more with your Sarvs than your Terminuses, it just feels a lot more satisfying using Erp, and I think it's overall better DPS because of the white hit. But that's not really
So
like
what
a
you're
down.
saying is white hits a new meta. I got it.
I mean, you were talking like your warrior crit build. I want to
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I
not to
think
say
it's valid.
Panaka is bad. I think Panaka is definitively the best bow. It's not even close. Um, gun is situational, right? Like, what gun do I use? It depends on the content. What
Yeah.
marksmanship do I use? It depends if I'm going to use magic damage. If I'm gonna do no enmity. If I'm gonna do this, that, or this. But like with bow, I think it's like I'm just always gonna use Panaka. I'll never take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. There's not really other like points to use. Like we said, Gandiva's kind of fallen off. It was fun, and it like if you wanted to really have some fun with some white damage stuff, you could still pull out a Gandiva, but again, that's forcing it into a situation where it's
If
probably
you've
not going
gone
to be the
through the
best.
trouble of making the prime, then you're gonna do the same or better white damage
Oh
with
yeah,
the,
absolutely.
and you don't need to maintain aftermath for it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm tempted to make the prime bow just to do Limbus NMs every month because I think it'd be fun. But
that's what I did the first time I did a Limbus NM. Is I brought Panaka out, and it was a ton
nice.
of fun.
Hell yeah.
And then I died.
Well, honestly, like subbing Dragoon, I've low manned a few foamers or mannequins, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah, yeah.
jobs, and it's great. Like you do fat damage from safety if someone's like a rune fencer or a
Mhm.
paladin is holding the mob, and you can be far away from it. You're not going to get hit with nasty AoEs. You're not going to get hit with enfeebles or whatever. As long as someone can hold it. I think Ranger is a unique job in that, like a lot of melee content, you can sub a tank out if you're able to zerg it properly or just like maintain heals. But Ranger is a job that pairs really well with a tank, and you're only as potent as the tank is to hold it off you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is that like Ranger operates from the safety of distance, and you don't get that safety of distance if you don't have a tank because
Yeah.
like
You
you know
need a tank that is like comparable and competent at holding the
yeah,
mob for you to be able to really pull out the stops and whip out the maximum amount of damage you can do.
Cool. Do you guys have anything else you want to discuss about Ranger or the Remas or anything like that?
I'd love to continue to theory craft what SE could do to make Ranger better.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say
tell
like
me
I don't
about
want
it.
to get too speculative, but like I want to say like as a closing thing, like if you could make a change to Ranger to make it more viable in the meta, like what would that be?
I want to
What
hear
would
what
that
Myth
look
has
like
to
to
say.
yeah.
Make double shot of stance. No, I'm just kidding. Uh,
Oh,
I think what
I think we all
you've
agree we can just close the conversation here. All right.
what you've said about hovershot being a buff to the self
Yeah.
multiple times, Heghmoh, I think is a really strong way to go. I've heard a lot of people say that like ranged attacking in general needs to be overhauled, and I don't know if I'd want it to be overhauled because like actually going through hitting your range attack macro and building sets and moving hover shot makes ranger a much more dynamic job when you're just doing damage than a lot of the other jobs, and that's what's like always made the job interesting to me. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'd ever want like ranged attacks themselves to be overhauled or made into like auto attacks like how melee does.
Yeah.
But what
heard
do you
that a
guys think?
lot. I agree with you in that, like, I've heard this argument that, well, range attack should be automatic, so I don't have to click the button every time, and that'll just generate TP more consistently. And, that might have been a better argument before Hovershot was implemented
Yeah.
because that will just not work with
Yeah,
Hovershot.
Well,
Unless
yeah, I mean,
right.
I think you would inherently have to change how hover shot works to not to
you'd
be
have to make it
this
so that
dance,
you
but
couldn't
yeah.
interrupt your shot while moving.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that and like that would actually make sense with hover shot, like this idea that you're mobile and you're constantly in motion. But I think my problem is with like the thing being a macro command to get your shot off is that I maybe I'm doing it wrong. I'm not sure. I don't like every time I play Ranger, it's this struggle of like I move to for hover shot and then I hit my range attack macro, but I move and interrupt my shot because I didn't stop long enough, or like I pull out my bow or my gun and I just hold it. Like the character gets interrupted in the animation and he just stands there with his hand
so
out.
I've found, for whatever reason, that the animation has like a good part to play in it. Like you'll move, you'll stop, you'll arbitrarily wait a mental amount of time.
Yeah.
Like you're mentally waiting an amount of time before hitting the button so that you can ensure that you're not interrupting yourself. And then you click the button and the gun comes out and then the gun goes back down because you did it a little too
Yeah.
fast. But I've found
Exactly.
that with bow, for whatever reason, it's so much easier to interrupt yourself than
Mm,
with gun.
really?
It might be because of my race. It might be because of my animation with that race. I don't know.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like with all things, especially like all things that have to do with rhythm, you need a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
And if you're not using Ranger regularly, it's gonna take like at least a couple minutes, maybe even a fight or two, to really feel like you're in that flow of
Yeah.
of
And
shooting correctly. And the
and
the
then
one
that
thing that I
problem is that
wish.
like
Mhm.
by the time you've done one or two fights, you're you're on to something that doesn't require Ranger for another month.
Right,
And then
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, if I had like one thing that I think would help, I wish that they would let you correct your mistake a little bit sooner. That way you're not punished as much if you interrupt yourself. Like it
Mm,
feels really, really, really bad when you interrupt yourself in Ranger because there's like a big delay and then you might need to move
yeah.
again just to make sure that your
Well then yeah,
hover
then you're not
shot,
sure.
and then like all I don't know. It feels like if you do interrupt yourself, you're punished disproportionately compared to like a DD being out of range for a second and then just like
Yeah.
moving and hitting again. So maybe that could be tweaked a little bit, or at least just like let
Rate
us
is
know a
good.
little bit sooner. Hmm?
True. If you interrupt yourself, you're basically losing an entire weapon skill, right?
Right? Yeah, it feels pretty
Okay.
bad.
I mean, in
Um,
that time, a melee DPS that's just auto attacking has done one or more full potency weapon skills because your one mechanical mistake that you made.
Mm-hmm.
Shiraj has said to me that he thinks Ranger is the most skill-based damage dealer in the
Yeah.
game.
Oh yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's the most technical.
I've heard Shiraj say that before, and I've told him he's full of shit. But that's just, I don't know. I don't think Ranger is that hard. But I understand that if you're not good at getting into a rhythm and just getting timing down, then it can be difficult. Maybe if you're having trouble finding the rhythm in Ranger, go ask your girlfriend for help, and maybe they can help you, like teach you how to move a little bit. And if that's not possible, then ask ChatGPT or Grok. I hear Grok's a really good alternative to having a
Can
girlfriend
you
too.
find me a girlfriend so I could?
Like I said, I think Grok really, really helps. But that's what I got.
Ready
Like,
here, folks. Single and ready to mingle.
yeah. Sign up for Grok today. Don't actually. What else? What are there anything else that you guys would switch about Ranger or change?
I think like we said before, and Traj said it in chat just now, like decoupling all these random weapon skills or all these job abilities that are for some reason coupled up together. Like it's not going to break Ranger if I can decoy shot and hover shot at the same time.
There's so many wasted opportunities for the job abilities because of these pairings. Overall, throughout the episode, we've talked about a bunch of minor things that would be fun on Ranger, like more bolts for crossbows. That would be fun.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
being able to apply a defense down is something that's missing from Ranger's current kit.
Or
And
just
I
put it on arrows. Make it
guess
make
you
it
could wear old bolts, right? But it seems like a big waste.
If Ranger could apply a defense down, to me that would be enough to, like, when I was talking shit about it at the start of the episode, to me that would be enough to rate it higher. Just being able to apply a defense down.
Something like dipped bolts, dipped arrows, and dipped ammos, or bullets. If each weapon type had a unique dipping that could do a different status effect or a different buff or debuff for the party, that would be cool. That would be more reason to bring Ranger to content, whether it be defense down or whatever. Like maybe you had a bolt that applied amnesia. I don't know. Just thinking off the cuff.
crazy.
That'd be insane, but yeah.
Little things like that. I think another thing that would be really helpful for Ranger would be decoupling it from strictly being a piercing job, like certain ammos applied blunt damage or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like if
the
you
only
got a bullet that says this deals blunt damage, I mean,
yeah,
that'd be
give
cool.
it
or like even
give it formless
wasn't that
arrows.
Wasn't that the whole thing? Wasn't there certain weapon skills that do different weapon types, like slug shot or something?
No,
It's all piercing.
I thought
for Ranger or magic.
maybe that was just a assumption I made 15 or 20 years ago, and then
I think
assumed it
you're
was true.
conflating blast shot because he whips out the bow or crossbow or gun and slaps the enemy with the weapon itself before shooting. So maybe you thought that was blunt, but it's still piercing.
But that'd be cool. And I think that like that's the last thing that I would say. One thing that they could do to make Ranger much more viable is just like sort of like they did with Monk years ago, but there just needs to be a comprehensive rewrite of all the bow formulas because like none of the bow weapon skills are decent except for situationally flaming arrow and sarv. Like they all just fall short. So I think they just need to like to give
You
it
can
the
say that
howling
about
fist treatment.
marksmanship too. I mean, there are more marksmanship weapon skills that are good,
Yeah.
but a vast majority of them are poopy. Like, what does split shot do, sir? Oh, it ignores their defense. It's still garbage.
Yeah.
What does sniper shot do? It lowers the target's int.
Yeah.
Great. What does numbing shot do? It deals triple damage and paralyzes, but it does no damage, so triple of nothing is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think now that we've discussed all of the Ranger stuff and everything that they need to make it better, to
Mhm,
revisit
mhm.
our discussion at the beginning, I think everybody firmly agrees with me now that Ranger, while
It's the best
cool,
job in the game.
while really fun and cool, and like I
Attribute.
feel like it's a very drippy job. Like if I were to think of like one Final Fantasy 11 job that's got a lot of drip, I would think Ranger.
Mm.
And that being drippy, it starts with D, so it's D tier.
No,
Ah.
I think Ranger is definitely a niche job. It's a niche application. It's something that comes up when you can't afford to bring DDs because of danger, right? Uh, that being said, when there are more abundance of those types of fights, Ranger is more popular. It shines better. And when there's less of those fights, Ranger disappears. So
Yeah.
I would like Square Enix to change Ranger in a way that it was more viable outside of that niche. But I think in the current state of the game, where we're finally moving away from Odyssey and Swordy in a little bit, like still people are playing catch up and still people are going to do that content, but we're moving away from it. Um, Limbus and hopefully more fights in the future will be longer fights that benefit you from not being right up in the mob's ass. So Ranger will continue to be good for those fights, and hopefully more in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would love to see more and more diversity. I'd love to see like jobs that are super niche that you don't see very often coming back for random fights.
You
I'm a
don't
little
want to see
bit
fire.
I'm a little bit bummed that the puppets got demolished from my understanding by the Limbus NMs. It would have been cool if you saw
Yeah,
some
yeah,
puppets out
Limbus
there.
tanking. Well, I guess
Yeah.
like yeah, I guess those that like thing where all of Limbus ignores the player DT. I assume applies to the pet DT as well. But that would have been dope. You just stick an automaton on it, and he's taking 97% damage reduction. But damn.
Going back to the
Yeah.
job ability thing, I
Mhm.
just saw Sharaj in chat says, I hate how Ranger is nearly 100% of the time forced to slash Dragoon for enmity management or use Koronok. I think my suggestion to like whether it's a different job ability or camouflage or they let you stack the other stance that isn't hover shot, um, decoy,
Mhm.
Yeah.
whatever it is. I think they're one of those abilities or multiple should shred enmity rather than transfer enmity or lower the
Yeah.
gain.
Mm.
Shredding enmity is obviously the most powerful version of enmity adjustment, and that's why Slash Dragoon is so potent.
Yeah.
More jobs really need it, but Ranger probably needs it the most.
Yeah. So look forward to it in 2030 when job adjustments come back.
Yeah.
Well, you
Thank
know what?
God.
They fucking promised us some job adjustments. Everyone voted for it. It was like
Well,
second and third.
I don't think they promised it. I think they just acknowledged that everybody wanted them. They're like, "You guys really want this,
I
right?"
want to see
Right.
them working again because
I
I
would
know they acknowledged it, but I think they said that they would look into it.
Yeah,
I think they
I'm just
did
afraid
too,
last time
but
they said they were doing sweeping job adjustments. They're like, "Guys,
mhm.
we're finally doing it. We're doing sweeping job adjustments and we're changing every job
And
in the
everyone got
game."
fucking master levels.
And we're like, "Master levels are out and Empyrean +3." And we're like,
Yeah.
"That's not a job
Not a job
Yeah.
adjustment.
adjustment."
Yeah. But hear me out. We've got what are we working on now? We have the back end stuff. They're moving off the dev kits. That's what they said they're
Mhm.
working on. Then they said specifically after that they're going to be working on the quality of life changes with the saving blue mage and puppet master
Yeah, and
sets
pop.
and the home point adjustments. So we
Mhm.
have quality of
Oh
life
yeah,
stuff lined
there's
up.
some cool stuff.
And then after that, we're looking at job adjustments. So like I said, about 2030.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I think that lines up with with a lot of the speculation I'm hearing on stream and in YouTube comments and stuff like that, where all of that clearly indicates that there's an expansion coming to the game, which means when they add a new job in the expansion, they're going to have to do balancing. So you know,
Right when they
continent,
add
new
Berserker and let you
jobs.
dual
Yeah.
wield great
Yeah.
axes or
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
adding a better ranger that dual wields crossbows and
Oh
hands.
shit!
oh shit,
Like
they'll call
a
it
mercenary
demon
style.
hunter from
Oh
Diablo.
fuck yeah!
And
Yeah.
That's
instead of
awesome.
adjusting ranger to auto range attack, this new job will have a job ability that just auto shoots the bolts in both hands.
Hmm.
And it's gonna
Rapid
be like
fire.
a stream of bolts. Yeah. It's,
Yeah, it's
You
like
just
a
that's
never
bayonet.
stop shooting. It's a stance actually, and you never
Bayonet with
stop
a
shooting, and
crossbow
you
in
get
their
to freely move
crossbow
while
in their
shooting.
hand.
All
That's
right,
what I
I'm
have.
gonna go ahead and say that that myself and probably the chat too has had enough of us for today.
Yeah,
So
fair
thanks,
enough.
guys.
How dare you?
I had a lot of fun talking about Ranger. Even
Clearly
though I
not.
talked a lot of shit about it, I really do love the job. It's really fun. I just wish it were in a better place. But I do
Mhm.
think there's a lot of cool stuff for it going on.
Yeah,
So
no, I totally agree with Myth's position. Like I think, and I always say, like being critical, like you should never say, "Oh, Ranger's in a perfect spot." It's working just how it
No, it's
should,
actually in a
because
bad
like
spot compared to
being
every other job.
being critical is important. You shouldn't also say like Ranger sucks, don't play it. I think we need to be constructive in our criticism. But yeah, I totally
In a
agree.
weird way,
mhm.
I think of jobs that are in the worst place in the game and need adjustments, Ranger is probably in the best place of the jobs that need the most adjustments.
Mm.
Like Ranger needs
Smallest amount.
adjustments,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's also in the best place of jobs that
yeah,
need adjustments.
for
I can see
sure.
that.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, take it easy, guys. We will be back next time. If you have another job that you want us to talk about,
Mhm.
write us and we will think
Send
about
us
it.
a goddamn email
Yeah,
so we can
I
talk.
can't promise we'll actually talk about the
Yeah,
job,
let us.
but
Oh wait,
we'll think
we don't
about it.
really do like a true YouTube outro. We should really do that. You know, like yeah. So if you found this episode informative, give us a like and perhaps subscribe to the channel. You can
Don't forget
check
to
out
click the bell, smash that like button.
Myth at MithposterSyndrome on Twitch and on YouTube. You can check out Heghmoh at twitch.tv/Heghmoh or youtube.com/@HeghmohTV. And you can find Dex on Asura and be sure to send him a tell asking him why Heghmoh is so handsome.
Mhm.
You just want more
If you have a job or a topic you'd like us to discuss, let us know down in the comments and we'll see you guys next time.
I
There's
normally
Limbus
don't
getting
edit
outro.
the episodes, but I'm probably gonna edit that last part out.
Wow. You can go to Heghmoh.com and order some Heghmoh merch.
All right. Okay, bye.